Good morning.
What's up? Good morning.
What's going on today?
Same thing. Bring it. This is the morning edition, I guess you could call it. There's a echo in the back, though.
I had another window open. I closed it now. So are these just kind of general topics that you have?
Pretty much whatever's related to the abortion issue.
Oh, well, I'm pro-abortion. I think they should be freely and widely available to anybody that needs one. It's a safe medical procedure. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Well, I can appreciate that you're honest about it. A lot of people will shy away from the pro-abortion label.
Well, I don't think it's desirable. I don't think that, I think it's necessary under certain circumstances.
Well, it seems like when you say like pro-abortion, it goes beyond mere necessity.
But I think it's a positive good. It promotes because it's about a woman's bodily integrity. Women have the right to determine their own medical care and not um, have those things dictated to them by others.
Well, is abortion like medical care in the same way? I don't know. Like if someone has a cold, right, and they like take cold medicine or cough medicine or something like that.
Well, actually, yeah, you there are over-the-counter drugs you can take. What is it, Plan B? And there's others.
Plan B was a birth control pill.
Yeah. Well, it prevents the fertilized ovum from implanting in the womb.
So
Are you against Plan B?
no.
Oh, because some people are, because they believe it's an abortifacient. Abortificant. I'm not sure how to say that.
I think it's
It,
pronounced abortifacient or abortifacient, one of the two.
well, in either way, you have a fertilized egg. I mean, the egg, and according to most anti-abortionists, that's a person, and you're preventing that egg from implanting in the womb, so
Well,
they can.
you talking about before implantation, right? You're not just talking about fertilization.
Well, my understanding is that Plan B operates by preventing the fertilized egg from implanting in the womb. And once the egg is fertilized, it attaches itself to the wall of the uterus, to the wall of the womb, where it then develops. And Plan B prevents that stage from occurring. Some people believe that you are a person at conception, which is when the sperm and the egg unite. Um, I don't
What's
think
it?
you are. I don't think you are a person at that point. And I was just
Oh,
curious what your position is.
well, if it acts as an abortifacient, then it would be something I would be against. But I had to look into that.
Well, the people who claim it's an abortifacient are wrong because a pregnancy has not actually occurred. The pregnancy doesn't start until the fertilized egg implants in the womb. And Plan B prevents that. However, there's a lot of people on the anti-abortion side who have their own special science that confirms their religious beliefs. I was just wondering what your belief is.
So,
Do you believe that Plan B type birth control aborts a live person in the fertilized egg or not?
well, of course, once fertilization happens, I think there's a human. So yes, I think there's a person there.
But it's not technically an abortion.
Well, if fertilization has already happened and it acts as something to kill that human, then that's all the same. It wouldn't be any different than if they went to get a surgical procedure.
Well, in one case, you're terminating a pregnancy, and then the other, you're simply preventing the pregnancy from happening.
Well, I mean, then are you really saying it's a location issue?
Well, I don't know what you mean.
Well, look, if you have the child, which is conceived and it hasn't implanted in the womb just yet, it would be just in a different location at that point.
Right.
So, I mean, does the location change anything? I mean, if you're
Yeah,
going to say it before implantation, I don't really think that really helps your case much.
my case, I'm not sure I understand. My position is that um, a medication like Plan B is birth control. It prevents pregnancy from occurring. The fertilized egg is eventually expelled from the woman's uterus.
Well, like I said, if it acts that way, then I would be against it. I had to look into it, so
Oh,
I don't
okay.
want to argue from ignorance.
Oh, okay.
But from what I understood before, um, it was only if it was used in the wrong way would it act as such. But if it could specifically act before it implants and the egg is already fertilized, then I think that would be an issue.
So there's lots of other cases where fertilized ovum uh,
Man, what's up, man?
does not result in pregnancy.
Hey Antonio, how's it going?
Not too bad, man. Could you repeat that last line again?
There are other cases where fertilized eggs don't result in a pregnancy, or do result in a pregnancy that should be terminated.
Are you talking about like the natural flushing of fertilized eggs?
Sure.
Yeah, there's nothing anybody can do about that. If it's like the natural flushing of eggs, nobody can do anything about that. I think when intent is applied, it changes the whole situation.
Mm. How come?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between somebody's kid dying in a snowstorm and somebody's kid dying by pulling a bullet in that kid's head. There's a difference.
I have a question. Why would somebody want to get an abortion to begin with?
Number of different reasons. I think most of them are because of outright ignorance.
I would agree. I would say also that it has to do with the parent to be not wanting to be responsible, because at least from what I've been seeing in my research, most of the people that go to abortion clinics are people that's aborting unwanted pregnancies. It has nothing to do with their health or anything like that. Majority of
Yeah,
these abortions are done because these people don't want to be responsible.
yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
And then there's also a fair share of women who have came out in personal testimonies who said they've aborted because not because it was a choice thing, but because they felt like they had no other choice. So that's the irony behind a lot of abortions that happen.
What typically happens is that the birth control somebody is using fails for one reason or another. Oh, there's an accident or something like that, or it's just a mistake.
I'm sorry,
And
could you please mute that or something? That's really, really bugging me.
mute what?
There's like that background echo. It's just interfering.
Yeah, Brenda was just mentioning. She was just talking about how what do you call it? Those I don't even I can't even think today. The birth control sometimes it fails, and sometimes people will get pregnant
Oh,
while taking
oh,
it, right?
but
Well,
I have to apologize. That was me. I didn't realize I had another tab open. That was my fault, not yours.
That's
yeah, she
cool.
was talking.
That's cool.
Yeah, Brenda was talking about the pills that women take that prevent them from getting pregnant. Um, this is why the Christian worldview says that you should just wait until you get married before you have sex, because sex is a huge responsibility. Because they even tell you when you're using a condom or when you're taking those things, there's still a slight chance you still may get pregnant.
Well, sure.
So if that chance is there and she gets pregnant, you know, um, then I believe that particular woman needs to walk in that responsibility. She knew what she was doing, and she understood the consequences for doing what she was doing. And an abortion should nowhere near be the first option. Like I said, as adoption, if you don't want the child, there's a lot of parents out there that cannot, not parents, I'm sorry, a lot of couples out there that can't have children for whatever reason. You can give your child to them. But abortion, that should be on the bottom of the, I shouldn't even be thinking this way, totem pole.
Well, I
It
think that
shouldn't even need to be on the table, period.
I think that most people don't wish to have abortions, don't seek them out. But the fact is that people do not all believe that we should not have sex until we're married, and most abortions are done by married women. There's quite a few married women who have abortions because it doesn't fit in with either their plans, or it's an accident, or for various other reasons within the marriage that you know birth control can fail within a marriage as well as without.
Well, there are people out there who are trying to quit on being addicted to illegal drugs too. But if they get caught with possession, they're still going to jail. Whether they want
Well,
to quit or not has nothing to do with the
well,
consequences.
I don't think drugs should be criminalized either. I think if people have problems with drugs, then they need to seek medical help to help with their drug addiction. But I don't think it's a crime to smoke marijuana.
Well, let me ask you a question, Brenda. Because I know I spoke to you in the past about evolution and some of these things and whatnot. When a woman initially gets pregnant, let's say 2 or 3 days after being pregnant, do you believe that the fetus or the zygote or whatever you call it is a person? Yes or no?
No, it's not a person.
Is the fetus a living cell? Is it a living thing? Yes or no?
Yes, it is. It's a fertilized egg. It's an
Okay.
embryo. Yeah, and it's human, but it's
Okay.
not a person. Person is legal status.
Okay. So I guess my question from an evolutionary standpoint is that we've had this discussion before about the first life form being what is it a single cell organism, right? And it
That's the
evolved
belief.
over time. Well, yeah, that's a belief by a lot of evolutionists. As a matter
Yeah,
of fact, by all
yeah,
evolutionists, they have to believe that in order to believe in evolution.
sure.
But my question is this: if that single cell somehow died or whatever, would that be considered a death or murder or something like that? Because it was living
Um,
and now it's not living no more.
no, I don't think that when a single cell dies, that's murder.
Okay. Do you believe that we're all related to a single cell organism?
All life on Earth is related to each other.
Okay. If you believe
So
that,
so
that
yes, so yes.
okay,
I'm distantly related to plants, to every single life form on Earth. We're all interconnected in that we all share a common ancestry.
okay, plants aren't humans. Fish aren't
No, they're not.
humans. Animals are
No.
not humans. But when these animals are killed, you have a group of people out there, since we believe that morality, since most of you believe that morality is subjective, you have a group of people out there that believe that there's nothing wrong with killing an animal, and you got people out there that believe it's straight up murder to kill a cow or a cat or, to
Uh,
cut down your tree or whatever. They believe it's murder. Okay. So
I
how do
I
you
don't.
justify, wait, I'm sorry, 1 second. How do you justify killing uh, now, I don't know what the technical term of it is that the atheists use as far as or pro-aborts use for the ovary or the not the ovary. I'm sorry, the fertilized egg or whatever, and the zygote or whatever. Now, how is that any different? It's okay for you to kill something that is intending to be a child,
Um,
and then you got people out there that believes that it's perfectly okay to kill animals, and you got people out there that don't believe it's okay to kill animals, and people do it anyway.
yeah. Number one, I don't believe that morality is subjective, and number two, I don't believe that killing a cow is murder. I don't think that there's anything wrong necessarily um, with us raising animals for food. Um, I think that we should do so in such a manner that is humane and causes them as little pain and suffering as possible.
But
Um,
human beings can live off fruits and vegetables. Don't you think it's kind of cruel to raise animals for the sole purpose of slaughtering them and to eat their meat?
we can't live off of just fruits and vegetables. You need certain amino acids um, in order to live,
You
and
can
some of
eat all,
those
you can eat
those
soybeans. You can eat soybeans. You can eat peanuts. You can eat walnuts. You can eat things like
yeah
that for your protein.
Well,
So that's
you
what I was
can't.
going to get at. But my overall point is this: why is it okay to kill an unborn child at its earlier stages, but then think there's absolutely positively nothing wrong with raising an animal for the sole purpose of slaughtering it and eating it? Because believe it or not, meat is not. There's a lot of meats out there that's not necessary for our survival. We can live off of fruits and vegetables and walnuts and peanuts and things like that.
Well, we can't. There are amino acids contained in meat, in animal products that we need for our survival, and and a fertilized ovum is not a human being, is not a person, and so and a
So
cow
human
is.
beings are allowed to have rights to live, and no other living organism has that right.
Well, I don't know what right to live means. I think that we have a right to we have the there's nothing wrong with raising animals for food.
you think the unborn is a human at all?
They are human, but they're not persons.
So
What do you define
is it
as a
okay for me to
person?
get my gun? Is it okay for me to go outside and get my gun and wipe out all of the crocodiles on the planet and all of the alligators off the planet simply because I'm sick of looking at them and I don't want to deal with them and they murdered human beings on the earth? Is it perfectly okay for me to do that?
I don't know what you mean by perfectly okay. I think there are other people that think that we should not exterminate crocodiles
Well, there are
But they're
other
not
people who
human.
for
think
But
there
they're
are other
not.
people.
for reasons of biodiversity and stuff.
But they're
There are
not
other
human.
people. There are
I don't
other
Crocodiles,
think
and
people.
alligators aren't human,
Well, the thing
I
and
is,
don't
so
think
people.
there are other
I don't
people
think
who
you're
think we shouldn't kill unborn humans either. So, what's your point?
I don't think that killing a crocodile is murder.
Okay, so what would you have a problem with his scenario?
I'd have a problem with it because, well, one, he could never do it. I mean, it just logistically very difficult to do
It's a
that.
hypothetical.
Yeah. Well, I would be against it because I think the biodiversity of the planet should be preserved as much as possible.
Uh, Number one, it's not impossible. We used to have a bird called the dodo bird, and it's gone. If we're not careful, the tiger and the white tiger is going to be gone too.
Yeah, that's a
So
loss. That's a loss to
it's.
human. That's a loss
But wait, let
to.
me finish. Just let me finish. Just let me finish. I bring up this comparison because I hear this argument a lot, and because I don't always come to Antonio's pro-abortion hangouts because I like to listen to them, but instead of like offering my 2 cents. But I hear a lot of people talking about how non-human things don't have the right to live. You know what I mean? Like that it's perfectly okay to take the life of a non-human, but when it comes to humans, oh, that's totally wrong. But then when you listen to evolutionists, we're all animals, we're all related. And it's just, to me, it just sounds like double talk. It's either we're related and we're all animals and life is, and life is valuable and life is important. Or it's the argument that you're making right now that human life is what's valuable. Okay. Human life is what's special and non-human life is not. And if non-human life is not, I think it causes a lot of problems for the pro-abort who believes in evolution, because now I can sit there and say, okay, they're arguing non-humans really isn't that important. So let's go hunt these animals into extinction. Or number two, and simply because for the betterment of mankind, especially these dangerous animals like these crocodiles, and these alligators, these lions, these tigers that eat human beings and do these harmful things and whatnot. You know, I mean, certainly it would be good for humanity to get rid of them. I mean, I could think of a whole bunch of great reasons to get rid of crocodiles and alligators, especially in Florida. You know what I mean? Um,
Well, I
so
think
it's either human life is important. I'm sorry, non-humans is important or they're not. If you're going to make the argument that we shouldn't wipe out the crocodiles and the alligators, that argument should also be used for the unborn baby as well. That's my point.
well, I'm not proposing that we wipe out unborn babies. And I think that if a crocodile, any particular crocodile, kills a human being, that animal has lost its right to live. It should be, if a bear kills persons or if a tiger kills people, then that animal should be put down.
What if a human does that?
Before, I'm not
What if a
sure,
human does
but
that? I'm sorry, Antonio. Just real quick, Antonio. What if a human takes the life of another person? Should
I
that
don't.
human life be taken away too? Should they lose the
No,
right to live?
no.
Okay, so what makes human beings so special? What makes
Uh,
human beings so special that human beings can take the life and live, but if something that is not as evolved as a human being takes a life that they shouldn't live? I'm just curious.
Humans have the ability for self-reflection and for and to think about the consequences of their actions, to reform their behavior, to change their behavior through conscious um, choices. And
maybe so.
animals are generally not capable of that kind of self-reflection.
Maybe
Well, that's
so.
interesting because that's the argument that we've been making for a long time, and I know it's going to kind of dip into evolution, but I believe it is the evolutionary mindset that brings people to the conclusion that it's okay to have an abortion because they don't look at things that I'm sorry, they don't look at uh, the things that are not evolved as much as human beings are as being quote unquote valuable or being equal or being as important as a human being. You understand what I'm saying? I believe that we Christians are more consistent. We believe that if a human being takes the life of another life, most of us are going to tell you that his life should probably be taken via the death penalty. All right. And at some point, that's going to happen anyway through the judgment of Christ or whatever, at some point, if that happens and he's unrepentant of it. Number two, if a tiger comes and kill a child and you don't believe, and because the child is considered more important than than the um the lion himself, then we're saying that we should take our rifles and shoot down the tiger. I just think it's inconsistent. It's an inconsistent worldview to have, and I know it comes out of the evolutionary way of thinking that things that are more evolved deserve more rights than the things that is the least evolved. You know, and when you look at an unborn child, because I want to get back to the actual topic, when you look at an unborn child, something that is quote unquote not a human, that's where that thinking is coming. It's not coming from and I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, Brenda. Trust me, I'm not. But I don't think it's coming from a rational way of thinking. I think it comes from bad logic to come to the conclusion that a non-human coming out of a human being and life has been created inside that human being, that life should just automatically just be devalued to the point that, or abortion should be illegal. You know, I'm sorry, should be legal. I'm sorry. They shouldn't be legal. If a human being gets pregnant, that human being needs to take on the responsibility of what they've done, and they need to raise that child. And if they don't want the child, as Antonio said on his channel many times, there are other things that you can do after you have the child if you don't want to be responsible.
Well, I think that human beings are special, and I think that um, a woman's bodily integrity is special, and she has the right to make those decisions, not others. So
You don't think
she has the right to decide when and how she is going to have bring a pregnancy to term, and not other people.
you think there should be any limits to that at all? Should she be able to decide that for like solely elective reasons for all 9 months, for example?
No, I agree with the current law, which is that abortions are available up until the 28th week for pretty much any reason. But after that, there are other reasons. For instance, the baby doesn't have a brain, or the baby threatens the life of the mother. In those cases, then it is permissible to abort the fetus if it threatens the life of the mother, or for whatever reasons are legally permissible at this time.
So why in the world do you think any law should ban abortion late term? Would not be a law taking the choice away from her?
Because I guess I didn't understand the question. I'm sorry.
Well, check this out. Let's say there is no mental deformity that was detected in the womb, and a woman is like 8.5 months along, and she's having second thoughts, and she wants to get an abortion.
Yeah, I
There are
don't think
laws that will prohibit her from doing that. Why should that choice be taken away from her at that point?
because under the laws of the land of the current time, elective abortion is really not available at 8.5 months.
Well, it depends
I
on
don't
if
think
you can
that
get an. It depends on in certain states if you can get an abortionist to do it. You
I
could
don't
get one pretty late.
I don't think you can. I
Well,
think late
they're
term
available in
abortion
New York.
late term abortions occur only in cases where extreme cases where it threatens the life of the mother, or the child is deformed in some way.
Well, that's not true. There's this legal ruling which happened a while back. It was called Doe v. Bolton. Basically, under that ruling, the law was stretched, to a very vague and broad definition of what defines, the health of the mother. Like, if certain definitions of what met under that definition was met, then a woman could get an abortion. But it defined, her health as emotional health to mental health, definitions like that. She may not actually have a problem, but if she just gets, the doctor, the OBGYN abortionist to sign off on it, she can get an abortion for literally any reason. And that's under the broad ruling of Doe v. Bolton.
I'm familiar with that.
So you said you are or you aren't?
I am not.
Okay, yeah, you should look into it. But but then again, even if you're not talking about Doe v. Bolton, like you rightly said, there are some abortions which happen at 28 weeks, which is technically still late term, and that's 4 weeks after the standard point of viability, which is 24 weeks. So babies which are born at 28 weeks can very, very likely survive as opposed to a premature baby born at, let's say, 17 weeks. So you may have one woman who, prematurely delivers a child at 28 weeks, and that child survives. And then you have another one around the same period who doesn't and gets an abortion, which is illegal.
There are no, it
So,
is not possible for a fetus to survive at only 28 weeks old.
oh well, actually, it is.
No,
Um,
it's not.
that's not true. You can look up all sorts of pregnancies which happen around that period, and some even earlier. Like the earliest known one to survive was like 21 weeks, 6 days. So it is very possible.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
Yes, the earliest known that I can recall, the earliest known baby to survive prematurely was born at 21 weeks, 6 days. And yeah, there are others which were born at like 23, 24, 25 weeks. It's very possible to survive around those periods, especially with the advancement of medical technology.
No, okay.
Yeah, you can look up all sorts of cases. I mean, these are real cases. I
Sure.
mean, yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I should have had them on hand because I usually do, but yeah, if you ever want me to fetch some info for you, I can in whatever point, and then I'll get it to you whenever.
Well,
But I mean,
I still think that the decision to have an abortion it, flows from a woman's right to privacy and her right to
mhm.
self-determination. It's a decision made by her and her doctor, and is should not be interfered with by the state.
Well, here's the thing. If you go by that line of reasoning consistently, then that should apply the entire 9 months, not just at, certain cutoff points that for whatever reason the law says a woman shouldn't do it. If it's her decision, why should it not be the entire 9 months? Why should, the government interfere just because it's later on for any reason?
Well, I think I don't know. I just it's the state has no business inserting itself into the affairs between a woman and her doctor. Period.
Well, well, outside of that exception in Doe v. Bolton, outside of that exception, and here's the given: you do still have to get the doctor to sign off on it, but if you can't get the doctor to sign off on it, then you can't get the abortion. So basically, you do have laws that interfere with a woman getting an abortion that late. The state is very much involved, but would you not have an issue with that?
An issue with I'm sorry. What again? An issue with what particularly? With
With like I don't know, like a woman wants to get an abortion at, let's say, 7 months, and then the state is involved.
well, if it's the decision is between the doctor and the woman.
But what if the state prevents it? That's what I'm asking.
I don't think they have a right to interfere.
Okay, great. Then would you agree then a woman should have the right to an elective procedure at any time of the pregnancy?
I don't think it's necessarily right just for any reason. Presumably,
She defines those reasons, correct?
women will choose. Presumably, people choose to have abortions for various reasons, and
Hmm.
latent pregnancy. Those reasons are typically to preserve the life of the mother or her health in some way. She's the one who has to make the decision.
Okay, so do you agree a woman should be able to abort for any reason at any time during pregnancy or not?
Hmm. I don't think necessarily for any reason. I don't think it's there's a difference between what I think should be legal and what I might what I might agree with or disagree with is a good reason or not.
Sure, I agree 100%.
So
That's all I'm saying.
I don't think it's good to abort a fetus at any just on a whim
Right,
at,
but
at
that
any
doesn't
time.
right, but that doesn't mean it should be illegal then, correct?
Yeah, I don't think abortion should be illegal. I think that is a private decision between a woman and her doctor.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. You know, as long as she consults with a doctor and everything's good to go,
Yeah,
then she can get one whenever she wants for
well,
whatever reason she deems appropriate.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I was getting at. Because the only way to be 100% consistent is if you believe that, I mean, putting your personal feelings aside on a matter, it should, she should have the legal option to make that choice because she's making the decision, no one else. And that should be an unlimited right all throughout pregnancy, before the child is born.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That's all I'm getting at. I appreciate your consistency on that. But, I mean, you are not every other pro-choicer, but I'm telling you, you will have a lot problems with a lot of other pro-choicers who would disagree with your position.
I suppose they might. There's quite a few people that quite a few different ideas.
Well, I mean, we got that much covered. I don't really think there's much more for us to cover. I think it's pretty dang bad. You do at any point, but I mean, we've even pushed the envelope to even the latest points, and you still wouldn't think that should be illegal. I mean, don't you find that the least problematic? But again, like we said already, even if you do find it problematic, you don't think it should be banned, though.
Yeah, that's true. I do think it is abortion should be left as a private matter between a woman and her doctor.
That's
Um,
fine. Again, I don't, put forth these arguments to convince anyone. I'm just, putting out
yeah,
certain info out there, and
yeah,
you
that's fine.
stand where you stand.
Yeah, that's great. That's very good.
I don't really think there's much more for us to cover at this point. I
Okay.
think it was
All
a
right.
pretty good conversation.
All right. Thank you.
All right,
I'm going to go and fix myself some breakfast, and I'll see you around later.
all right, take care,
Bye.
Brenda. Oh, you, if are you able to speak Black Pack, or are you in class or something? Oh, okay, cool. Don't worry about speaking. Um, for those who are listening on the outside, um, like I said, it was a great conversation with Brenda. I appreciate Brenda's consistency, but it, it's it's a slippery slope, man. If you know tamper with the sacred um, idea or the sacred concept, rather, of human life, then you end up going down a slippery slope that you can't get out of. And we saw it here. But I appreciate Brenda's honesty and consistency, and that's just the way it is. It's not, for me, it's not necessarily about convincing people, but just seeing where they stand. And people are going to stand where they stand at the end of the day, no matter how rational, how logical your position is. So it was a great conversation, but it is what it is. I can only, at this point, just hope and pray that Brenda gets convicted in some way and Brenda changes the position on this issue. And you never know. With God, all things are possible. So that's why I'll keep it there. But if anyone else wants to come in, the link is available in the chat and we can continue on. But in the meantime, I'm just about to stay muted and probably do some other stuff. But if anybody shows up, I'll be ready to go. So if you don't hear me speak for a little bit, it's not because I'm not here, but rather I'm just in the middle of some other tasks to do. I got some work I got to get done. Just, doing that to pass the time until, other people show up and we can continue the conversation. So with that said, I'm just going to go on mute for a little bit, but if anyone else comes in, I'll unmute myself and we can continue on. It took you a minute before you got in here, man.
Hello.
What's up? Where have you been? You've been in the room for a while. You just didn't come in.
Yeah, I was playing Overwatch.
Oh, okay. If you've been listening on the outside,
That's right.
so you've been following the conversation then?
Not so much. I've only just clicked on it, so I don't know.
Oh, yeah, you probably was in the middle of Overwatch, so you probably couldn't follow the conversation at the same time anyway. But
So no,
anyway,
I didn't hear what was said.
we had Brenda in here earlier, and um, at first, Brenda was putting forth this position that she thinks that there should be limits on abortion, but after probing Brenda's position for a bit, there was a change, and it just went to the degree of it should be between her and her doctor, even if the person makes her uncomfortable, even late term, as long as the fetus isn't born, she should have that choice the entire pregnancy for any reason she defines.
Yes, I think that I think abortion should be freely available on demand, safely and legally.
Well, since we're obviously not going to really move much ground for the pregnancy part, at least we can talk about, on demand. Do you mean by like taxpayer money?
Well, as it stands, yes, but that wouldn't be my ideal system. But yes,
So, if you want to talk about being legitimately pro-choice, then why in the world would you directly or indirectly advocate for other people to pay for other people's choices?
well, I think we should have a medical system that works like that. That's what we have. That's what we have over here, and we have better health outcomes for it. So I think that it's demonstrably a more efficient system, that if everyone pays into it a little bit, they might not agree with the choices that people make. I mean, I might not agree that someone who smokes and then needs treatment for emphysema gets treatment because I don't approve of smoking, for instance. But I think the overriding principle of everyone contributing to the greater good is a more efficient, a more effective way of doing things in the system that we have.
But that's basically you saying that people should be entitled to have their irresponsibility paid for by other people.
You can view it that way, but then nobody, and we're not islands, are we? We live in a society, and no one's going to approve of everything that everyone else does. There's always going to be something. So I think that's a trivial objection, to be honest.
It's trivial to force money out my pocket because someone else didn't want to be responsible for their actions. You think that's trivial?
I think that to object to having a commonly paid health service, healthcare provision that is demonstrably more efficient is far more important and far better an outcome than to have individuals sort of complain that indirectly their taxes might go to someone somewhere who is having a medical intervention based on a lifestyle they don't approve of.
Here's the thing, I don't care how efficient it is or not. I shouldn't be obligated to pay for it, whether it's efficient or not.
Well, surely
It's
the
my
efficiency
money. I should be able to place my money wherever I want to
But
place
surely
it.
but surely the efficiency is actually quite an important point. If it's producing greater outcomes for healthcare, then surely that's actually more important than whether or not you approve of whatever it might be.
Basically, what you're telling me is the ends justify the means.
I think in this case, that's a very good argument. Yes.
Okay, but here's the problem. Um, if you're going to use this argument for medical purposes, why not use it for other things as well? Why not use it for college and stuff like that? Why not use it for I don't know, other things other people might need? Um, well, here's the thing: it's already stuff like that for food and whatnot, but I think a lot of people agree that such services should be reserved for people who truly need them, not people who want to be irresponsible. And for those who are being irresponsible with those things, need to be held accountable.
Well, I don't think that. I think that's a slippery slope, to be honest, because once you start dictating who's truly needy, then you're going to invite the problem of having a group in society that has more power over others that will dictate what they think is right and wrong. I mean, there's lots of things in society that might be better off if they didn't exist, but they do exist. For instance, I don't think smoking has any positive outcomes, but I wouldn't deny someone who smokes healthcare. I think that's just mean-spirited. It just seems utterly petty. I don't think society is best served by saying to them, you can't have healthcare because I disapprove of your lifestyle. I think you can introduce education. I think you should introduce education that outlines the facts and teaches people that smoking isn't safe and it has these outcomes. But unfortunately, you can't force people into a better outcome by simply saying to them, no healthcare for you, because that's not going to solve the problem.
Here's the issue you talking about, like not forcing certain moral issues, but you've already defined, like, I guess it would be universal healthcare as some sort of greater moral good, and you believe that should be forced. So doesn't it strike you as a bit hypocritical?
Well, I think that's just. I think you're playing using the letter of the law, as it were, in terms of trying to sort of make a clever argument. Because if there's a better outcome, that's not based on morality. That's based on the simple fact that better health outcomes come from a universally, funded healthcare system such as the NHS. That's a fact. That's recorded, and we can see that. I think to then argue that should be done away with because it's imposed on people is kind of nonsensical.
So you're looking at this as some sort of technical um, benefit, not necessarily as a moral good, because I think a lot of people who would look at something like universal health care, they would look at it as not some technical issue, but as a real moral good. I
Well, I think it
mean,
is a moral
why
good as well.
everybody?
I
Why?
think it is a I think it is a moral good as well because helping people with healthcare that can be provided is, it seems to me to be a good thing to do. But when I say that there are demonstrable outcomes, I'm using, actual objective facts to show you that that system works. I think it's morally good as well.
Well, look, here's what I already said. I already said that even if something could yield some sort of results in some sort of positive way, that doesn't mean that the ends justify the means. Like, I don't really care how positive it is. At the end of the day, you still um, are doing it at the forced expense of other people.
What, don't you believe that you are your brother's keeper?
Yes, but not by forced expense, though. The Bible doesn't teach that we are our brother's keeper by forced expense.
Well, what difference would that make? Surely you would. That just seems a formality then, because if you want to help other people, why would it matter that the money is taken through means of taxation? You can call it force, that's fine. I have issues with the tax system as well, but you know, why would you then object if that's something that you would want to do anyway?
I may be my brother's keeper, but that doesn't mean like I'm my brother's how can I put this? I'm my brother's keeper, but I'm not like my brother's genie. That's how I'll put it, something to that degree.
Well, then I don't. That surely is the very definition of being your brother's keeper. Is it means that you look out for your fellow people in community and in society, that you want them to have things like healthcare when they need it. I mean, you can't just, you can say, you know, you could argue that I don't approve of their lifestyle choices and I don't want them to have this healthcare, but I don't think that that's an effective way of doing anything anyway. If you're just going to divide things up, you're going to create more problems. It would be a lot easier just to say, well, I don't have to approve of their lifestyle. That's fair enough, but I'm not going to deny them the help that they need.
Well, here's the problem. If they don't want to be responsible and pay for their own stuff, then why should anybody else be entitled to? Because it gives. Here's the thing: you got people who understand responsibility and they understand that they work for what they have. They understand that if they want to feed their family, they gotta grind, and however way they do it, like by owning a business, by employment, they do what they have to do to take care of their family. But it becomes another problem when they're trying to take care of their family, and then you have two or three other people who are being irresponsible, not taking care of their families, and they're having money forced out their pockets and take care of their families. That's a problem.
Well, I don't know what, look, this is the system we have. I don't particularly think it's a great system, but I don't, why do you equate responsibility with being able to pay for something? What if you're poor, you work hard, but you just don't get a good wage and you can't afford certain healthcare services because arbitrarily the costs exceed your ability to pay for them? What then? Are you irresponsible in that situation?
Well, you gotta understand something. The type of welfare systems and things like this, like take the United States, for example, these sorts of things did not always exist in our society. But a lot of people will have you believe that like poor people were dying by like the thousands or something like that because there was no sort of welfare system in place. And there is no such data that back that up.
Well, I didn't say people were dying by their thousands. I don't think it matters if one person is the person who dies from a preventable situation that a universal healthcare system could provide, then surely that's a tragedy. I don't think degree really matters in that situation. That's something that could have been prevented. That is a situation that you object to because you don't want that system to exist.
Here's the problem. What if you have people who are making income like they are like the lower middle class, and all the money that they earn is only good enough to take care of the family that they have, but then they get taxes snatched out of their pockets to try to take care of others, and then they can't take care of their own family as a result. You think that's good?
Well, I'm not, as I said, I don't argue in favour of a tax system 100%. I'm saying to you that universal healthcare could be provided. It doesn't have to be on the basis of the system that we have, the economic system that we have. I mean, if it wasn't for taxation, would you agree with universal healthcare? Is the issue money?
Somebody got to pay for it somehow, man. this stuff isn't free.
Well, that's just going back to the notion of money. I mean, if we did away with all that, then it wouldn't be the issue, and you wouldn't be worrying about whether taxation was taking from you and all the rest of it. I mean, you contribute a little bit, your neighbour contributes a little bit, and then everyone gets something at the end of the day. That's what you're objecting to. I'm not explicitly defending that. I'm just defending the principle of universal healthcare.
That's not everybody contributing a little bit, but people can contribute a little bit here and there without having it to be a legal requirement for them to do so.
So are you saying that if you weren't legally obliged to pay tax, you would pay, you would still pay, you would voluntarily pay?
Well, here's the thing. If you're talking about stuff like healthcare, there are a lot of people who, in their private lives, who donate their time to churches and private organizations and things like this to deal with such issues like as these that you're speaking of. They don't believe that the government should be stepping on their necks and forcing the money out their pockets. If you allow people to freely make that decision, that serves to be a more flourishing society. It's just that if someone has the heart to freely give, I think they're going to be more inclined to do so than if someone puts a gun to their head and forces it out their pockets.
Well, then you could just argue that tax is just a formalization of that principle. If you're saying that people were free and would be free to give money, and they would freely give money to the good causes, and which presumably you would include healthcare, they would do so, then surely tax is just a formalization of that process and just makes it a lot easier than relying on week by week, month by month, year by year, everyone paying to whomever. Wouldn't that just be easier?
Well, if you are talking about getting rid of taxes, then you would have to be talking about getting rid of all sorts of monetary systems. You understand the slippery slope you're operating on?
Oh, yeah. I have no problem with that.
People aren't typically going to do something for free. I mean, people can if they choose to do it for free. They absolutely can. But the world that we live in, people, generally speaking, want to be able to provide for their family in one way or another. So they're not going to be doing something for free. The society that we once lived in before today's monetary system was a system of bartering. They would trade, things that they owned and stuff like that. But even in antiquity times, stuff wasn't being done necessarily for free. There was always some sort of service or exchange medium of some sort.
It's not true that barter preceded money.
I think you're living in a fantasy world. You're going to be able to take that sort of thing out of the picture.
Yeah, I'm living in I understand that the world we live in is the world we live in, but barter didn't precede money. That's not actually true.
Well, that bartering didn't come before the monetary system.
Correct. And
where's this information? I mean, I'm more than happy to be corrected, but that's not how I understand it.
I can point you to David Graeber is a guy who wrote a book called Debt: The First 5,000 Years, which I haven't read all of. But in the first chapter, he talks about anthropologists looking at the facts of how this, how money came to be and all that, and they have found absolutely no evidence that barter preceded money. I don't have a reference I can give you, or I don't have a link I can provide you.
Is it that they found no evidence that bartering preceded money, or did they find positive evidence that money was around before bartering?
Well, they found, as I say, I can't remember the specifics of it because I haven't looked at it for a little while, but there is no evidence that money came from barter and barter was the system we had before money.
Well,
There's
that's
no
fine.
evidence to
I
support it.
have to look into it. Like I said, I'm open to being corrected on it, no problem. I
But I
mean,
mean, yeah, I mean that's fair enough. But you know, arguing for a system that doesn't exist doesn't necessarily mean it's complete fantasy. Um, you know, and people not doing things for free. People have done things for each other in societies all throughout human history. There's no precedent that says people have to have money and have to work hard to earn money as the best way and the only way for humans to live.
well, here's the thing. What society do you know of operated in the way that you're talking about, which flourished for a long period of time?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head. There's various tribes that live that way. Various systems. I can't remember. I couldn't talk to you about this off the top of my head. There's a book if you want to look into it. Have a read of Anarchy Works by Peter Gelderlos, which I have nearby, but I'm not going to go and dig it out. Where he talks about these sorts of issues because it's something I'm interested in. So we don't need to have money to live. I mean, it's just not necessary. People can quite easily live on by providing things on the basis of need. That's what Marx argued, and I think that's the better way of doing things. Clearly, providing healthcare in return for money doesn't work very well because people who can't afford it can't get it.
Well, let me throw this at you. Let's take money out the picture altogether, and we don't have it even there. At the end of the day, you still will have people who need health care, right? So if money is not even in the picture, um, how are those people going to get health care who need it? Is it going to be by the free choices of people who are able to administer that health care to them, or is it going to be by the force actions of the law?
No, it would be freely provided.
Okay, I mean, if it's something that they just do out of their own free and willing hearts, then that would be something that would fall into what I was saying earlier. That given in the society that we live in now, people should want to, people should be compelled to do it out, of the willingness of their hearts, not because it was forced out their pockets.
Well, they should, but we don't have that system at the moment. At the moment, we have a system where people need money in order to live. You need money to buy all the things you need to live, so people have to submit to that, process of earning a wage. So obviously, that shapes the system that we have. So that ideally would be how things are done, but that's not how things are done at the moment.
I understand that, but here's the thing. If people would be freely doing things and not being forced by the law to do things for people who need healthcare, for example, like those who are educated and know how to administer healthcare to people, if they shouldn't be forced by the law to do it even in a system of no money, then why does money being in the picture means that they should have the money forced out their pockets? Just putting money into the picture doesn't change anything. The fact that money's in the picture is just, um, it's just, again, it's just the system that we're in. But I mean, I don't see how adding money in and of itself means that. Um, Here's the thing: if they shouldn't be forced to provide the service, if we didn't have money, and they should freely, do it on their own volition, why should be then why should people be forced in a system with money? Why shouldn't people just freely give the money on their own volition?
Well, you're
Shouldn't,
asked what, yeah,
both things be free on
what
their
you're
own
asked, yeah,
volition in any system?
what you're asking really is why does taxation exist? And I'm not going to argue for it. I'm not an advocate for taxation because I'm not an
No,
advocate for that system.
I understand that, but I'm not asking about taxation. What I'm asking about is the free actions of people. If you are in a system without money, you agree that people should not be forced by the law to administer services. They should, something that should be freely given. But on the same token, you have a system where there is money, should not be freely given in that system instead of forced out of their pockets by the law? Because if you're going to say it should be forced out of their pockets by the law, why shouldn't?
Are we arguing against taxes? Is that you're talking about being forced out of their pocket? You're talking about being forced to give the government? You know,
We're talking about, well, we started talking about healthcare and on, what the means would have to be for universal healthcare to exist. Somebody's got to pay for it. It's not free.
Right. Well, that's easy. I mean, we all pay for it based on our salaries into taxes, through taxes. That'd be the easiest way to do it. That's how, as far as I know, that's how all other countries with universal health care pay for their health care.
Well, what people argue against is the fact that you have a lot of people who are irresponsible and they should not have to pay for other people's irresponsibility. That's the problem.
It seems like you're looking for reasons to
What do you mean
not
by
have universal
irresponsible?
healthcare.
I'm not. What do you mean by irresponsible? Like, I mean,
Look,
based on what you make a year, you pay based on your salary a year. You pay that much into taxes, and a certain amount of your taxes is going to be put towards healthcare. I'm not sure how irresponsibility comes into the equation.
check this out. You have people who are very much able-bodied but don't want to work and don't want to earn their keep. But you do have people that do go to work, like you and me, and
Okay,
those who are able-bodied and don't want to go to work, we gotta pay for their laziness.
yes and yes, but the thing is, people who choose not to work they're not just. Yeah, I mean, they're not. While they might freeload a bit, they're also missing out on all the other things that people who work for a living have, like TV, video games, cell phones, money lying around, nice houses, cars, pools, ability to go to movies, to travel. I mean, if they're willing to give up all that, okay, well, I mean, their lives already, for whatever reason, they're making their lives probably suck more than they need to due to some other reason. So I don't think we need to punish them by making sure that they die from treatable diseases because we don't want to pay for their health care. They're still paying some amount. They're just paying less than they would. And even if they're getting free health care, I mean, if they're willing to give up all the wonderful creature comforts that you can get in a first world country, if they want to live like they live in a third world country while in America, I'm okay giving them, the very minimum amount to survive, including things like health care, but not more. And the thing is, that's also not a majority. I mean, if you look at countries like France, where healthcare and in fact, like government, France is pretty heavily socialized as far as everything, and yet their people work. They don't really have a problem with unemployment or people taking advantage of the system. I don't know if we should punish people who honestly can't work for good reasons, like for instance, my neighbor. She works 2 jobs, but she also has multiple sclerosis. So she's putting in way more effort than a normal person would to try and make a living. And yet she also gets free healthcare because of her disability, she cannot get jobs that pay well. Now, while punishing the people who are just scumbags who just aren't willing to work, punishing them would also require punishing her. And we don't really have an easy way to figure out. We don't have any tests we can give to say, well, this person is working a dead-end job and not making much money, and they should get free healthcare because they're doing it for good reasons, versus this other guy who's doing it because he's a bum. He's a bum. He's a jerk. He's perfectly able. He's not good. We're not going to give him healthcare. There's no easy test we can give to figure out who to do that to, and doing that would cost money on top of everything else. So I think it's rather I'm okay letting the bum, the guy who should be working, let the bum have healthcare if also my neighbor also gets healthcare.
Okay, so here's the thing. You think because it would be difficult, right? Just because it would be difficult to watch all the people who are being irresponsible. That isn't an argument against anything. I mean, it's difficult to catch every last single person who commits a murder or who is a thief and steals something. that
Well,
doesn't mean
it's
you
not,
should have laws against those things.
it's not so much that it's difficult, it's also impractical. I wouldn't, would you want the government judging whether you deserve healthcare based on how you live? Is the government going to determine the right way to live and say, well, you're not doing it the right way, so you don't get healthcare? I don't want the government doing that, do you?
What do you
Well,
mean?
he already does. He already does because he's a Christian, so he does follow that.
We can talk about that in a bit, but what do you mean impractical? Is it practical to get every single person who murders, every single person who steals?
No, that's a whole different thing. I mean, it's not practical to have the government try to figure out who deserves healthcare and who doesn't, based on whether we think they're living, I don't know, a good moral life, or they're doing everything that they're capable of doing. Because then you start getting, obviously at that point you start getting towards communism, where you have the government also determining what job you're going to do. If you don't do that, then you get in trouble. I think communism would be great if people were better, but obviously communism doesn't work when you have freeloaders.
Yeah, that's not communism.
Why is it a different thing? Because here's the thing: you're not going to catch all the people who commit crimes. That doesn't mean law shouldn't exist.
Well, I mean, it's not a crime to have a crap work ethic. You know, some people they don't want to put in as much effort as others, and they're allowed to do that. Now, I don't think we need to punish them with crappier healthcare for that. I think they're already getting enough punishment by having far less money, far less means to do the things that most people enjoy to do. I think that's enough. And any attempt to try to cut them out, to like you would require people working for the government to go to people's houses to do surveys and say, oh, okay, well, you're a bit of a bum, so we're not going to give you healthcare. And then they have to go interview someone else and figure out, oh, well, that person might have legitimate reasons for it. And you'd have to have some kind of system where because you don't want people determine, you don't want someone to come to your house and just determine it willy-nilly, like, oh, I have a gut feeling. So you'd have to have some kind of setup of rules. X, Y, and Z. You have to meet these criteria to get healthcare. Otherwise, you're a bum.
Yeah, as it currently is, for instance, assistance for public assistance, welfare. There's very little fraud. It does exist. You'll never fully eliminate it, but there is actually the rate is very small, and the benefit is very large. So I think the benefit outweighs any of the people who take advantage of the system. There's not that many. And so that's a cost that can be borne by the system, and the benefits of having the system outweighs the cost.
I'm with Antonio. If there was a way to keep people who don't deserve healthcare not to have healthcare, I would consider it. I would make sure that no, you have to go and work so and so hours because you're capable of doing so. But that's just not feasible. There'd be other complications, and all we're really trying to do is punish someone. Well, I mean, I'm worried more about the benefits to the people who need it rather than, the few that are going to take advantage.
Well, I wouldn't even say that there were just a few people, but here's the thing: for those who do need such a thing, there was one time to where these modern such systems didn't even exist, but nobody would make you can't make an honest argument, historically speaking, that people who, had, little as opposed to, your typical middle class person or high class person. There's no historical evidence that sorry about that. That was my roommate, but there's no historical evidence that I'm aware of to back up this notion that people who didn't have a lot were just, suffering or just dying for lack or something. You have people who would need help in their communities and things like that. We should make this like a community.
It's simply I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're referring to.
Like look in history. All throughout history, you have people that were poor, right? Like look in colonial American history before, like welfare, for example, existed. You think people were honestly, starving to death in those times before welfare existed?
Yes, they absolutely were. Yeah,
I can tell you that's happening in Britain right now, Antonio.
Yeah,
Right.
historically, people were lucky to live to 40, and starvation was an issue. There was no easy way for everyone to get food. So if you didn't have money, the government couldn't help you. If you didn't have enough friends and family, starving to death was a real possibility, even in areas where you wouldn't think that would be possible. The welfare system kind of saved. I mean, the reason we came up with the welfare system was because of the Great Depression. Starvation was becoming a serious issue. So I think FDR did a good thing.
That was the Great Depression that had nothing to do with how general society functioned.
Well, I mean, it turns out it's pretty helpful even when you're not under a Great Depression. So, I mean, it still provides significant benefits, help people stay alive. I mean, I want people to stay alive. Even if they're bums, I'm still going to at least help them live, be alive. I mean, we do that for people in jail. Why are we going to do it for people who are not in jail?
Elderly poverty in the U.S. decreased dramatically during the 20th century. Between 1960 and 1995, the official poverty rate of those 65 and above fell from 35% to 10%, and research has documented similarly steep declines dating back to at least 1939. So these programs do have a positive effect. You're simply mistaken.
What I'm talking about is people who were poor in colonial times. What they would do is they would seek help from like their local communities, local churches, and things like this. This is what they would do. Communities would, address these problems, not, state and federal governments forcing money out.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Well, I mean, it does and it does. I mean, it's more hit and miss than having the government do it. Your community doesn't have to help you. They're not obligated to, other than morally. And a lot of people, I mean, they kind of ignore stuff like that. So, they could help you or they could let you starve, depending on whether they liked you or not. The government doesn't have that. That doesn't work that way. The government helps you, period.
Also, charities might have a particular, soup in a sermon kind of deal going on, where we're happy to help you if you sign up to our value system. We're not just going to help you for the sake of helping you. We're going to help you because we want you to join the flock and so forth.
Imagine, Antonio, that you're in need and you live in a community that's mostly Muslim. And when you ask them for help, like, well, sure, as long as you convert to the faith, that would be you would agree with me that would be wrong. But there's nothing to stop them from doing that because they have no other reason to help you. Might as well make you beg for it. Why not? The government's not going to help. You're desperate, and they're the only ones available at the time.
Are you generally opposed to welfare and public assistance, Antonio?
I'm opposed to it for people who like consistently abuse the living heck out of it.
So people who don't deserve it.
If anybody who ever uses it and they're able to work, it should be temporary.
You don't think that's pernicious, the distinction between the deserving and the undeserving poor?
Yeah, I mean, who's going to determine who's deserving, who's undeserving? The government?
I'm sort of curious. How is it you're able to do podcasts at 10 o'clock in the morning? Why aren't you at work?
You don't even know what I do.
I'd like to know.
That's not your business.
Are you on? Yeah, it is. You're the one judging other people.
No.
What is? Are you taking public assistance? Are you taking public assistance?
This is what I do and how I live is none of your business.
Sure, it is.
No, it's not. And if you keep asking about it, I will remove you out of this room. It's not your business.
I think you're a hypocrite.
How is JD Kane in here this early in the morning? You going to ask him the same question? I'm not asking about your business.
I would. I'm sure he'd be happy to inform me.
I'm a total bum. I nothing at all. I just soak up off the system.
Are you on public assistance, JD?
Honestly, I don't.
No, are you on public assistance, Antonio?
No, I'm not. But anything else I tell you is strictly only if I choose to reveal it. It's none of your business. Are you?
All right.
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am.
Antonio, I think we're all in agreement that we don't want people who don't deserve healthcare because, they're choosing to do as little as possible and not help out the community. if it was easy to do, I agree with you. I would also want them not to get the benefits. The problem is systems that try to punish them will also punish people who don't deserve. And I rather like the innocent until proven guilty approach. I'll let them who don't deserve healthcare as long as
one other thing, Antonio.
Stop. That's absolutely disrespectful for you to ask about my personal affairs.
I want to make a point though. If you're going to have a system, where I'm not going to be talking about you.
You're not going to come up in here. You're not going to come up in here and grilling me on my personal life.
I'm not. The point is you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate it, do you? You don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate it.
Don't appreciate what?
You're trying to push a red herring. You're trying to shift this to me personally in your red herring attempt to get around the issue.
You don't like it, do you?
Don't like what?
What you just said.
You don't like personal affairs?
Right. You don't like it.
A lot of people don't tell their personal business on the internet.
Right. You don't like it, do you?
Because I have every right.
You don't like it, but you think you have the right to demand that from other people.
Hold on. You don't want to talk about.
Hold up. Hey, Brenda.
You don't want to talk about a right.
Hello?
I think I get
Brenda, you don't want to talk about a right to privacy. But when you ask about my personal affairs and what my how I earn income and when I'm on employment assistance and that, you contradict yourself.
Can I take over for a second?
The point.
Can I take
yes? Go ahead. Go ahead, JD.
Antonio, I think what she's trying to say, and I don't care about your personal business either, is that you
Brenda shouldn't ask me about it in the first place.
Right, well, I think what she's trying to say is that you don't want people prying into your personal stuff, of course. But if you were to put a system in place to check to see if people are deserving of healthcare, that's exactly what you would want the government doing all the time.
No, hey, can I?
Oh, hey, let me show. Tell us what you're doing this week. Tell us what you're doing now. Tell us how much you're making. Can you do more? Are you doing as much as you should? Because if not, we're going to take your healthcare away.
Can I please reply?
Go ahead, Ecclesiastes.
Something you said you didn't want to do.
Oh, sorry, he wasn't done.
Go ahead, Ecclesiastes.
JD, you don't think that they can set up a system where before they give you money, they can find out you're deserving of it?
That's the thing, possibly. But then again, who determines what is deserving or not? Like, does my neighbor working 2 jobs, is that deserving enough? What if she didn't have MS? Should it be 3 jobs?
We're not talking about able bodies. If you have an ailment, you should have to have an ailment.
That's the system as it is currently.
Yeah,
well, I can tell you that
I have a neighbor who her husband claims to have back injuries, but they've never been reported, they've never been documented, he's never gone to a doctor, and he is a bum and lets his wife with MS do all the work. How are we going to give her health care but not him, since they're married?
Hold up, and she has what? She has multiple sclerosis?
She does. Things get relapsing and remitting, but yes.
I'm going to let you know right now. I'll remove Brenda out the room. You're going to ask me about my personal business and distract her from the conversation. That's not cool. Don't do that. Well, you know what? She's not going to be in here anymore.
Okay. But the thing is, I mean, if you start getting a tax code and just strictly around healthcare, that starts getting very complicated very fast. And all we're trying to do, we're not doing it to help people. We're doing it to try to stop helping people, which I think is the wrong goal. The goal should be to help as many people as possible, not to help all the people that deserve it, and then make sure through, honestly, what will turn out to be probably pretty expensive programs to stop people who we don't think, for whatever reason, are deserving of help. And I think that's a dangerous precedent. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think we're going to have a significant. I think if we had universal healthcare like most European countries, I doubt we would see like a huge uptick in people being bums. I think you'd still have about the same amount we have today.
It's funny that we talk about stuff like this, right? But our ancestors, thousands of years ago, they lived. They got along just fine.
Well, they lived. They didn't live nearly as long.
They died.
It doesn't matter. Just prolonging life doesn't.
Doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, you can live past 40 if you want to, right? I mean, don't we all want to live past 40 if possible, healthy? Because that wasn't a thing 200 years ago.
From what's going,
lucky.
from what's going on, though, we are moving away from how our ancestors used to be, and guess what? We're destroying the earth in the process.
Well, that's a different issue, though. I mean, I agree with you. That's a different issue.
I would say get rid of all of it. The electronics, go all the way back to Roman type days. I would say get rid
I do.
of
Well, let's start throwing Christians in with the Lions again. I'm all for that.
Hey, I'm not against that neither.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, throw me in there. I'll be happy.
The thing is, Roman times, I mean, slavery was just accepted practice. I mean, there's a long list of things that today would be kind of abhorrent. Like, oh my God, no. We don't want, different people conquering and owning each other. We don't want feces and piss in the street. We don't want, raping young boys to be something that's just considered acceptable in the norm. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of other things in Roman times that are not so good. We have to try and weed out a lot of them.
But the bottom line is, it's one thing if we are free to help our fellow man. It's another thing if another man takes money out our pocket to help our fellow man. That's a completely different issue.
Well, it's not another man. It's your government. You're giving to the community
ran by men.
Community at large. I mean, are you saying you should
ran by men?
And by Christians as well.
But I'm not really sure what you're. I mean, are you saying we shouldn't pay taxes, or you just don't like paying taxes when you know people who don't deserve it might benefit? Is that the issue?
Well, the reason why everyone pays taxes is for stuff like roads and things like that stuff that's needed. That doesn't mean we need to, take care of somebody's health care. Such things are not needs.
Seriously?
I think that is it is a need. I think in modern times we expect, and I think we're entitled to decent assistance when we're sick. And the reason the government should be involved in that is because healthcare is one of the most expensive things you can deal with. It is cancer treatments alone get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars very quickly. And if we had no help, well, say what? Sorry, what?
Why? Why does it cost so much money to study stuff?
That you have to talk to a doctor. I know Hogtie or CRISPR. I mean, there are plenty of people who come in here who are medical doctors to explain. I know relatives who are. And the thing is, a lot of that stuff, when you have new inventions all the time, the stuff tends to be prohibitively expensive. And there's good reasons for that. It's not them just trying to make $1 million.
It's all about money, man.
It's like we can't help each other without money.
Well, it's expensive for a good reason.
Well, I'm curious as to why you would think that healthcare isn't as important as building roads. I mean, if you deny healthcare to people, then you run the risk of creating greater healthcare crisis in society. What if some, let's say, bum contracts, I don't know, what's the word, a disease that's spreadable,
something
contagious, like mumps or chicken pox, something that we can cure, and then this gets spread. Maybe their kids go to school, pass it on to other kids, and so on and so forth. You've got a problem there.
You understand why the United States has become one of the most renowned and one of the most powerful countries in the world? It was not because of the sort of socialism you dudes are talking about.
No, that's very true. I agree with you. Unfortunately,
yeah, we have lots.
It was because
guns and bombs, mate.
That is a good way to be a powerful thing in the world.
I'm skeptical of any philosophy that requires the government to take care of you. I don't know. That's just me.
Well, it's not them taking care of you. It's them taking care of everyone. It's
right. And in lieu of that, well, the problem with that is you surrender over your rights and your liberties to a government under the auspice of, we're going to take care of you because you're too stupid to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Well, it's not even about it's not even about intelligence. It's about, it's about money. If you're poor and you contract a disease that is very expensive, without healthcare, you're going to die. Without health insurance that you can pay for yourself, you're going to die. Now, a rich person, like myself, no issue. If we get rid of healthcare, I'm fine. I've done enough. I will live to the good 90-some years that I plan to, because I happen to have money. Now,
Right. So you're okay with the government.
Benefit. Well, I'm not though. If I were selfish, I would be. I'd be like, oh well, screw you guys. You guys are poor, and you can just go do whatever. Go die in a hole, you dumb, dark, dirty, poor person. I'm not.
So you're okay with the government pretty much taking your money and giving it to other people?
Yes, I think that's what any moral thinking person should want, is to give what they can to help their fellow.
Why do you need a government to regulate that? That's the problem. You don't need a government to regulate that.
I give my taxes to the government, and when it comes time to vote, I tell them, hey, I want you to give this money to healthcare industries, because we live in a republic where we put people in office that do what we want them to do, and if they don't do what we want them to do, we throw them out. Now, luckily, a lot of people agree with me.
Like Antonio said, back in the day, it was more beneficial to actually take care of your own community rather than depend on the government to do that for you. It seems like America especially has become intellectually lazy. They don't think that they can do it on their own. So therefore, well, let's just make it easy and give all the control over to the government. They'll do okay. They love us, by the way.
Well, we know it doesn't work that way. Look at places that have either poor or no government. Like, let's go with Somalia. How's healthcare over there? People luckily live to 30.
But we're not Somalia, though, so that didn't.
Or people. I mean, we're not Somalia, but that's probably because we have a pretty good, well-established constitution and government.
No, we're not Somalia.
Like, let's look at Afghanistan. Afghanistan is mostly just small communities because the government can't reach a lot of places. So you just have that are isolated.
A country where socialism has ever worked.
Pretty much every country in Europe is heavily socialized compared to us, and they're doing great.
No, they're not.
That's not really.
They're doing great, eh?
No, they're not. That's a bunch of that's garbage, dude. No, they're not.
Really? Well, I'm not saying they don't have flaws. I mean, America has every country's got its problems, but Europe is prospering.
It's prospering on the backs of the poor and the lower class.
Well, actually, no. Socialism benefits the poor because, like I said, it spreads the money out more than it does in, like, say, our system.
Listen to you. They're poor. How are they being benefited if they're poor?
What statistics do you have to back this?
That's what socialism does. You have the government with more money to spread the money. It's the rich give more, which gets spread out more to the poor.
No, the rich get more and the poor get poorer. That's how your socialism, capitalism works.
In America, that's not happening in Europe.
It's a good.
Yes, it is happening in Europe. It started in Europe. What are you talking about?
Okay, well,
it sounds all fluffy on paper, but I haven't seen a bit of data at all to back it up.
Well, the countries that you would think of as socialist, state societies, they're not. Socialism is just the control of the means of production.
I mean, we actually have. I mean, there's plenty of things in America that are socialized. I mean, fire departments, police departments are basically socialism. But we expect certain things to be paid for by the government. Now, as I was mentioning before, let's say we go with Afghanistan, which officially has a central government, but it doesn't really get to do much because things are so divided. It's hard to get, to enforce laws there. So what you end up with small communities. Anyone here want to defend Afghanistan's current situation as a great way to live? Anyone?
I find it funny that you're playing a game that resembles the life I'm talking about living. You could do that here on Earth. You know that, JD, right?
Yeah, but see, I got mods in here and I can get electrical stuff going.
I mean, you can live off the Earth without any government, any other man telling you or helping you.
That's right.
About your life, right?
Well, I mean,
people don't realize where this is coming from, though. You realize that every nation that has a central bank has these sort of issues. And it just goes to show that big government really tightens its grip on the people, and it doesn't allow them to prosper freely. And it hinders them mentally, too, because if you have a government that'll always be there to give you food stamps and take care of you, you're not going to have any incentive to do anything on your own. And that's what keeps people in poverty. We need to give them incentives to get out of poverty, not incentive to keep them in this government welfare state. That doesn't make sense.
Arcane, is that all you want is food and healthcare? Is that all you want in life?
No, I want the government to stay out of my business.
Well, I mean, like as far as like core stuff. I mean, would you be happy living where you simply got beans, rice, and milk, and if you got sick, someone would treat it? Would you be happy?
Is subjective. Happiness is subjective, JD. You can't enforce your standard of happiness on the rest of us just because you like your little standard of living. That doesn't work.
I'm asking about your happiness. Would that
happiness is subjective, just like Ecclesiastes said. He can live off the land and be happy. You might not be happy. You might need your SUVs and your satellite.
Not really. You're missing my point by a massive mile here. Okay, I'm saying you personally,
because you don't understand my point.
You personally, would you be perfectly fine having just a roof over your head, your health care paid for, and then the most basic food possible to not die?
No, I would not be happy with the government providing me with my standard of living. No,
I didn't ask you that. So you're answering questions no one's asking, because I think
Well, you said, would I be happy with having my health care paid for? Well, by who? You're suggesting the government.
No, you're misrepresenting me, and you're doing it on purpose. And
well, then be clear then.
No, he isn't. No, he isn't.
Let me try one more time. Let's see if you can answer the question.
Yeah, try harder. Try better this time. Go ahead.
I will try to get you to answer directly this time. So, would you be fine if you had food, a roof over your head, healthcare, and nothing else? The point being is that would you be fine with again, you're missing the point.
Depends on who's providing it, JD. Maybe you don't get that part.
Well, I think you're missing my point. And again, you're doing it on purpose. And again, this is what I expect from you, but that's fine.
This is what you do, JD. You want to ask leading questions and then say, aha, see, well, you agree with me. I don't. Actually, no, I don't agree with you. I'm sorry.
Nothing about the leading question. The point is
what kind of question is that? Would you be happy with your health care and your food paid for? What kind of question is that?
I'll tell you what. I'm perfectly fine putting words in your mouth. If you lost all your creature comforts,
that's all you can do.
Your job, if you lost all your friends and you had only food, shelter, and free healthcare, you would be unhappy. You would have reasons to go out and get a job, to work for a living, to do more so you can have more. Because you're not.
If I have everything provided for me, I would have incentive to do more. That doesn't make sense.
If you only had the very basic things, you would still want to work so you could have all the things that actually make life fun.
That's subjective, though. You can't put your so-called mental state on everyone else as a result of this issue.
The case.
You can say you would be happy if, and you would be happy if. That's a subjective sort of assessment, JD. You cannot say you would be happy if. That's dumb.
Do you know are perfectly happy with only the most? I mean, like people who.
A lot of people I know are very happy with the bare minimum, JD. We don't need a lot of people. You know what, JD? JD, other people can talk here. You know that, right? See, I've actually traveled around the entire world, and I've visited countries that have less than nothing, and I've visited countries that are rich and powerful. It's a subjective to say you would be happier if this. I know people that live on less than $20 a month who are happier than probably you are.
Exactly.
So you can't say.
I'm sorry. Exactly what, Antonio? Why do you think that was a good point?
Because
it is a good point.
He's absolutely right. Because happiness is very subjective. A lot of people who live in downtrodden countries and live under the barrel of a gun and being persecuted for their faith, they're very happy people.
Okay, these are anecdotes.
Like if you've never driven an SUV, you've never seen an SUV, you're not going to be like, oh, I wish I had one of those. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be happy with what you got.
Sir.
America has this standard of living which is above and beyond our means, and then people like you say, well, just don't worry about it as long as the government's there.
I like to explain why
it's okay.
No, sir. These aren't merely anecdotes. You got people who actually come from these sorts of backgrounds.
By definition,
sir.
Go ahead.
You got people who actually come from these sorts of backgrounds who have actually lived these lives.
Okay, well, like I said, this is a terrible argument, and I can't explain why, but I'll need a minute.
Go ahead.
Now, these are anecdotes by definition, and Arcade did. I've been around the world and I saw these people. That is anecdotal evidence. That's him witnessing people. That he didn't do a study. He didn't do any statistical analysis. He's just like, I saw some people.
It's called experience in life, man. Not every.
Right, it's called experience, bro. I'm sorry.
I said I need a minute. You gotta give me a minute, or.
Well, your argument is stupid. I'm sorry.
All right, you have a minute.
That's because you haven't heard the argument. I didn't actually get close to finishing it yet.
It's stupid so far. Go ahead.
Interrupting me is again something I expect, but that's okay.
JD, King, you have a minute. Go.
Right. Traveling on the world and seeing some people who are happy and poor is an anecdote. Statistically, people who are in really bad shape, who let's say half their family tend to die of dysentery because they don't have good health care, they're not usually in a good mood about that. They're not happy about these things. Now, yes, happiness is subjective, and no one's arguing that point. However, we can see statistically what the majority desire, what the majority want, what makes them generally happy. And for that, usually it's not, oh, well, I have the barest possible thing to survive and nothing more. Most people are not happy with that. From my own experience, on top of people doing polls of what people
That's
want.
not anecdotal. Come on, get out of here.
Again, see, I was going to get a minute, but Arcane can't help himself, and I understand.
You had a minute. Stop being petty. Shut up. You had a chance to espouse your point, and you failed. Sorry.
You have to interrupt. It's the way you are. It's cool. I understand.
JD, you still got 25 more seconds. Go.
I mean, he broke the point, though. Honestly, it's Arcane. I understand he has these problems, and it's fine. I just won't be able to make them.
Oh no, JD never does this.
It's cool if I can't make the point.
Yeah, you lead by example, JD. You never interrupt anybody. You didn't interrupt me at all since I came in here. All of your points have been valid. So yeah, let's. I'm sorry, JD. I'm sorry.
We can move on.
To be fair, JD, you've interrupted me more than once, and I've been pretty gracious with you today. So
I usually stop when I notice I'm interrupting you, though. Arcane usually continues as fast as he can to try and get.
No, this is all you can do, JD. Oh, he's interrupting me because he's making a valid point that makes my point look stupid, which is all the time. So I expect that from you, JD. But the point is, everything you just said was anecdotal, and then you want to say, well, this is just anecdotal. The point is, it's experience. Not everyone gives a damn about your government system. More and more people are coming out of your government matrix and are starting to realize that it's nothing but a trap, and it's hindering the growth and development of people from the inside. If the government is always there to give you a solution, why bother thinking for yourself? And this has been the hindrance of the Black community. This has been a hindrance of all of the lesser income communities around the country.
Who said I want the government to do everything?
That's basically what you and your people are about. Big government, big control.
My people?
Yeah.
Who are my people?
You and your little secular monkey crew. Everyone who thinks they come from monkeys defend the government for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Hey, all right. You're welcome to your opinion.
It's the fact. Sorry.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever like think before you speak. Because I mean, you say some pretty awful things, and you're like.
Are you going to refute anything I say, or are you just going to act like a shill bag?
Well, I mean.
Anyone consider say, do you think about what you say? Are you sure you really mean that? I mean, is that a point you're making, JD? Because that's very deep, bro. Good job.
From my perspective, it's better not to correct you because I mean, you sound.
Because you can't. You have nothing. You have nothing but shillbaggery. That's all you have. Anyone that makes a valid point, you want to make them look foolish by any means necessary, so you can avoid making a point to counter them. That's your MO.
When I was talking there, you knew I was talking, but you jumped anyway to make a point that nothing.
That is your modus operandi, is to obstruct. You have nothing to add at all to what I just said.
Good word. But as I was saying, the issue is that I don't have a good reason to correct something that is so obviously wrong. It simply makes you look bad.
Oh, okay. Then you have nothing else to say. You're out of the discussion. You were refuted. You were refuted, and you didn't have a retort. That means you lose the debate. Good job.
Oh, okay. If that's how you want to refer it,
that's how it works. Actually, if you have nothing else, then you have nothing else. What can I say?
Right, but if you didn't make a point worth refuting, that would reflect badly on you, correct?
Well, you're the only one saying that. Antonio seemed to agree with me. I don't know about Ecclesiastes, but you're the only one here in dissent. So you're not making a point.
I'm not focused on people. I'm focused on the people watching. People are going to watch it later.
Right. And you're not making any point now. So
pretty sure.
Good job.
I haven't disagreed with a single thing Arcane said.
That's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinions on things.
Right. And JD can't espouse on why I'm wrong. He'll just say it over and over until hopefully someone believes him.
Well, it's one of those things that why should I prove wrong what you have not proven right? Like you.
I made a point and you have nothing. So good job.
There's that thing where I was doing the sentence thing. I was still talking and you just kind of ran over it.
You asked the question and I answered you.
No, it wasn't a question. It was a statement. But
well,
this is where it always goes. He has nothing to say. Now he just wants to bag on me and say, well, he's not being agreeable to me. Therefore, yeah, come on.
Antonio, can you bring us back to better territory? This is
but here's the thing, JD. There's some things that you can't categorize into statistics. Like you can only, poll a small pocket of people, which isn't necessarily representative of the whole anyway. So there's a lot of things that are going to be missed that you just cannot know other than by way of experience.
I agree. However, if you want to know how most people feel about certain ways of living, you can't just go ask a couple individual people. You need to do statistical analysis.
Yeah, you need to ask the government, right?
statistical analysis. You take a poll. Gallup doesn't work for the government. Pew doesn't work for the government. You know how polls work?
And why do you trust those polls? Why do you have faith in those polls?
Do you know how they work?
Yeah, and I asked you a question. You gonna answer the question? Why do you trust the polls?
Actually, your question underlines that you don't know how polls work. So
why do you trust the polls? It's a simple question. If you can't answer, I understand. That's your problem.
But the question doesn't help you.
It's a very simple question, JD. You can either answer it or dodge. It's clear that you're dodging. It's okay.
By dodging, I asked you the question. So
why do you trust the polls and you can't answer? It's okay. I understand. You have faith in your government and what your government says. So it's obvious.
Arcane, Antonio, you can help me. Arcane, you're driving the conversation.
JD, quit stuttering and actually just give an answer, okay? That's all I ask. Ask your question.
JD, what's wrong with that question? Why do you trust the polls? What's wrong with it?
Going nowhere. I mean, why trust the poll? We haven't actually explained what.
Yeah, why ask those questions, Antonio?
Well,
right?
It's a red herring. Well, as you said, it's a red herring.
Well, why is it a red herring?
For different reasons, and at this point, we're assuming that yes, you can in fact get everyone the opinion of a large group of people. If you deny that we can,
why do you trust the poll?
Again, if you deny that we can get the opinion of a large group of people, then you're saying, well, polls don't exist.
Why do you trust the poll?
Again, if you're saying polls don't exist, I am not willing to correct you on that.
I didn't say that. I asked the question. And the people that are listening to this who are objective listeners know that I asked a question and you're putting words in my mouth now. This is the dishonest tactic that JD Kane has to do. This is his MO. He can't answer direct questions which actually challenge his point of view. So he'll dodge and duck. And then he'll put words in his opponent's mouth. So go ahead, JD. Keep dodging. It's okay. We're all aware of what you're doing.
Okay. That's all right.
All right.
Again, like I said, you're welcome to your opinion. But the point is
it's
that
obvious, but go ahead.
Do you deny that you can take polls and that polls can provide trustworthy data? Yes or no?
I don't trust your polls, so I'm asking why you do, and you can't answer. It's obvious.
What polls have I taken myself? How many?
Whatever polls you're citing, I don't trust them. So
because
why do you trust them? It's a very simple question. Maybe if you answer the question, you could persuade me. I'm not that far gone. Trust me.
Arcane, that was your claim. You said you don't trust any of the polls that I'm citing.
I asked you why you didn't trust the polls, and you dodged like a coward because you're a coward.
Arcane, I was still talking. Please.
Yeah, you're a coward. You can't say anything but it. You can't address my question.
I can't say anything if you interrupt everything. That does make it kind of hard.
Well, address the question. I'm sick of you dodging the question.
I'm addressing the question. You don't like how.
Why do you trust the poll? Can you answer that?
You're interrupting. I mean, is the middle of my sentence keep interrupting the beginning of yours? Is that how this is? Is that a problem for you? Because I would
take your time, JD.
Conversation. Well, so you're still interrupting.
Why do you trust the poll? Take your time.
I'm sorry. You're still interrupting me consistently and repeatedly.
Take your time. You can cry about it, but the question is still on the table.
Well, I'm not going to cry. Antonio, if you could help me with a little moderation, it'd be appreciated.
He's waiting for you to answer the question. You got 2 minutes. Go.
Every time I start dancing.
How about this? 2 minutes uninterrupted. Go.
The point is that the question, what you Arcane claimed, is that he does not believe any of the polls.
I asked you a question. Why do you trust the poll? Stop putting words in my mouth. That wasn't the issue.
Arcane, just let him finish, bro. Go. I'll reset you 2 minutes. Go ahead.
I won't need 2 minutes, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Arcane claimed that he does not accept any of the polls.
You won't answer the question.
And I get 2 seconds at.
All right.
Yeah, because you won't answer the question. You want to talk about Arcane. You're a coward.
I hear you, bro. I hear you, Arcane, but just let him finish. Just give him a chance to not answer the question if he doesn't. Go ahead, man.
If I fail to ask the question, then hey, I look terrible and you can crow about it later. Why not?
Oh, too late for that. But go ahead.
So anyway, so Arcane claimed that he does not accept any of the polls that I'm on, despite the fact that I've offered 0 polls so far. So I'm curious. I mean, he's saying like, how do you know that polls are trustworthy? Why is he asking the question when he apparently has?
Because you brought up polls, genius. You only said the polls, so yeah, that's why I asked you the question, right? Mm-hmm.
About 12 seconds that time, Antonio. I'm not sure what
you still got a minute 30.
Just I got interrupted again and again. So yeah,
you're not saying anything. Well, go ahead.
Okay, still interrupting. Antonio,
you're such a coward, bro. Stop playing games and answer the question.
Antonio, really hard to answer.
Well, I don't want to have to hide you from the broadcast, Arcane, but if I gotta be fair though. You understand though.
right,
Do what you got to do.
All right, so Arcane claimed that he would not accept any polls that I won, while also asking how polls can be untrustworthy. Well, it sounds like he's asking a question that he believes he already has the answer to. Something about whatever polls that I'm going to present or have presented in the past are untrustworthy for some reason. I'm actually curious what that reason is, because his question seems disingenuous. Like he's doing it to avoid the conversation moving in a way he doesn't like, rather than because he actually wants to know the answer. And of course, you can't trust polls so much as you can trust, anything that is checked by other people that you believe are trustworthy. Now, Pew Research, Gallup polls, there's very, very smart people work for them and test them to make sure that they're right. So is it possible that that can happen? Well, I think so. I don't see a reason to think that couldn't be the case. I mean, how many polls should we doubt? Do we think people are giving the wrong answers? What is a good reason to doubt a poll? And especially, apparently, the ones that I'm going to present, which I haven't yet, but apparently Arcane already has good arguments against whatever poll I'm going to present for something, apparently. Because, I don't know, Arcane is presupposing that all polls are bad, or that all polls presented by JD are bad. I don't know. But I'd like a clarification, like what is the point of the question? Because it didn't seem to have anything to do with what we're talking about.
You got 20 more seconds. Are you done?
I'm good.
Okay, cool.
So, Arcane, if you can clarify that, that'd be great.
Yeah, notice you didn't answer the question. All I did was ask you, why do you trust the poll? And then you started putting words in my mouth. Well, he clearly must have an argument of why I can't trust the polls, and maybe I should ask Arcane. No, I asked you, why do you trust the polls? It's a simple question. You don't need any of my input for that answer. So it's clear that you dodged, just like I thought you would, because you're a coward, and that's all you have. And now you're interrupting me. Such a hypocrite. But go ahead. I'll concede the rest of my 2 minutes because it's clear what I said. You have nothing for us. Go ahead.
Well, you changed the question. I can answer the changed question.
It was the same question. I'm sorry, bro. Maybe you should clear out your ears from all the showbaggery and answer the question. Why do you trust the polls? You cited the Gallup poll.
Never heard of
Why do you
showbaggery
trust the Gallup?
Why do I trust Gallup? Well, Gallup is well respected, and for good reason. They tend to give accurate data. When they predict things like elections, they tend to get it pretty close to right.
Why do you trust that?
When they do poll, well, because their information isn't that any reason to trust polls? The information they give historically is accurate.
Well, you're just begging the question by saying, well, it's always accurate. Why do you trust the accuracy of their information?
It's not. I'm sorry. All right. You say it's begging the question?
It's begging the question. I asked you, why do you trust the poll? And you say because it gives accurate results. So maybe you should understand what that means, JD. You understand, when you're talking while other people are talking, JD, you can't hear the answer that they're trying to give to you. I gave you a chance to answer and you dodged.
This must be
Arcane, you gave the answer and I'm responding to it. You said it's begging the question. Please point out where my premise and conclusion.
I already did. I tried and you cut me off. So maybe you can take your time and hold your breath.
I haven't actually finished asking yet. So I guess maybe you're jumping the gun a bit there.
See, listen, I'm trying to micromanage this conversation, and you can't just answer simple questions.
All right, I might just have to hide you both while each other speaks.
Well, he ain't got nothing, bro. So.
Well, why don't you tell us why you don't trust the polls, Arcane?
Yeah, well, if I may, I'm not sure. Am I broadcast? I don't even know.
Yeah, you still broadcast.
Okay, yeah, I can't tell because as you can see, I'm playing a game, so I can't see the screen. My question is Arcane said I'm begging the question. It's a very specific fallacy, and to demonstrate, you would show that someone's premise and their conclusion are the same. I would like to see a demonstration of that by Arcane. Arcane, can you do that?
I already did, JD.
No, you didn't.
You said you trust the poll. I said, why do you trust the poll? Because it's accurate. Why is it accurate? Because I trust the poll. That's circular reasoning, like an MF. So maybe you can, maybe you can think about what you say before you say it. Can you do that?
Well, that wasn't what I said. I said
that is exactly what you said.
Well, no, you added
a liar. So why do you trust the polls, JD? Can you give me anything at all?
I said because they produce accurate data.
And why do you think they produce accurate data?
They simply do.
See, that's begging the question. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you don't seem to know what begging the question is.
That is begging the question.
Okay, again, give me my first premise, give me my conclusion, show that they're...
Why does the polls produce accurate results? Because they do? That's begging the question.
That's a different question. Now you're saying, why does the poll produce accurate data? Which is...
I asked you, why do you think it produces accurate data? And you said it be... Now listen at this guy. Listen at this guy. He begs the question. Now wants to nitpick about what I asked him. You're truly a dishonest coward, JD.
Okay, well, Arcane, I get why you kind of accelerated there and went a little haywire.
Right, you're a coward, bro.
Why don't you just tell us why you don't trust the polls?
I think the issue here in
why don't you just beg the question? Why don't you do that?
Still interrupting me, but all right.
Yeah, you're not going to admit that you begged the question. Why should we talk to you? If all you're going to do is beg the question, what's the point?
All right, I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to explain how I'm not begging the question, and two, I'm going to explain why you're lying right now.
Well, you're going to lie your butt off. Go ahead, JD.
Well, yes, I would. If I were you,
this is recorded, by the way. You knew that, right? Okay, go ahead.
If I were you, I would make an accusation first before we had the discussion. So why am I not?
Whoever speaks next, I'm gonna hide the other person until they're done.
Honestly, it's Arcane. You don't, or I'm sorry, Antonio. You don't have to do that. If he interrupts, he interrupts. It's just the way things go sometimes. The issue is begging the question means my premise and conclusion are in some way the same. Well.
Mm-hmm.
I made an inductive argument. I said that, I trust the polls because they provide accurate data. Now, this further thing, why are they accurate, is not something he asked. And when I started to point that out,
I asked how you know it's accurate. And you said because it is.
See, this is an Arcane trick. Arcane knows that I've caught him somewhere, and that's why he's going to talk over everything.
Well, you see.
Because you're lying like a freaking shill. Stop putting.
Lying. I should have mentioned.
Stop lying, bro. If I say something, it's recorded, and you just look dumb by lying. So stop.
You said I didn't have to hide them, so I'm not hiding them.
It's cool. I know. Like I said, in my opinion, if Arcane talks over me and breaks the conversation down, I look good, he looks bad, I'm fine with that. So
that's the only way you can look good is crying over me correcting you. That's all you can do.
So like I said,
he's correcting what I say because I'm lying. Therefore, I look good.
Well, yeah,
JD Logic.
I am in fact calling you a liar right now. I hope you don't mind.
I know, but it's recorded, so I thank you very much, sir.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
It's recorded that I said.
I see that little yellow button.
That when I asked you the question, let's go back then. Are you scared to do that, or are you just going to keep putting words in my mouth? Well, that's all you're doing. That's why I'm cutting you off, by the way. When you put words in my mouth, I cut you off and I correct you because you mislead viewers, and that's dishonest.
What words did I put in your mouth?
Let's go back, okay? You said you trust the polls. I said, you don't want to address the issue, do you? Yeah, let's go back over it then. Are you scared?
I'm sorry. You're the one who you just said I put words in your mouth. When I said what words, you went, well, let's talk about something else now. What are you trying to hide, Arcane?
No, this is what we're talking. See, you're dishonest to the core of your being. You cannot have an honest conversation.
Well, you made the claim. I put words.
So let's talk about the point that we're making, okay?
Well, no, let's not do that. Let's talk about this accusation you made that I put words in your mouth. What words did I put in your mouth?
Yeah, I asked you a direct question. Do you remember what it was?
Words in your mouth, would it? Ask you a direct question.
Yeah, change the question, which is putting words in my mouth. Do you understand? Why do we have to be this petty, JD? Why can't you just be an honest person and answer the question that I actually asked you instead of switching the question? Instead of switching the question and asking a different question that I did not ask. That's dishonest.
Switching the question would not be putting words in your mouth. It'd be providing an answer to a question you didn't ask, which is something you've done several times.
That's dishonest, JD. I didn't ask you that question. So answering a question that I didn't ask and saying I asked that question would be dishonest. So I'll ask the question again since I'm done going around in circles. Listen, this is a red herring and you know it, all right? And everyone can watch. I'm pointing this out. Everyone watching. You don't want to talk about the point. You want to nitpick and red herring about anything and everything else because you know you don't have a point, JD.
Okay, you made a claim. I'm asking you to back it up.
Why do I asked you? I'm going to recap because everyone watching this can check the timestamp and see that I'm not lying and that you're lying.
Well, why are you recapping rather than simply?
So can I get a chance to recap, Antonio, uninterrupted or not?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so let's go back to the point since that's what the whole discussion is about. Is this point? You brought up a poll. Well, we have polls that we can, ask people what they feel. And I asked you, why do you trust the polls? And you said, because generally they give accurate results to that effect. And I said, okay, how do you know that they give accurate results? And you said, because they do. That is begging the question, sir. So can you answer the question without begging the question? Why do you trust that they give you accurate results?
Well, it's like asking, how do you know that tree's white? I'm looking at it. Well, how do you know you're looking at it? I mean, we can go on forever, but at some point, like, okay, you have reason to.
Really, you're looking at it. Okay.
Why don't you ask why? You can ask a better question, like, what makes any poll accurate? How you test whether a poll is accurate or not? Well, we can test.
I'm asking, how do you know it's accurate?
Well, you can confirm with other people who are competing with them. That's a great capitalist way to do it. You take Pew.
And you've done this?
Yeah, most people do. Don't you check more than one poll?
Oh, okay. So give me your method. What's your method for determining that the Gallup?
You check polls at all.
What's your method in determining that the Gallup is correct?
I didn't say correct. I said accurate. There's a difference.
Are we talking about politics or something? Because I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, I'm not even sure either, G-Man. I feel like I lost.
JD doesn't know what he's talking about either, G-Man. Don't worry. You and JD are in the same boat. He has no idea where this conversation is either.
Yeah, G-Man, or I'm sorry, Hurricane kind of drove us to a weird place here. So
this guy wants.
So how did the conversation start? What are y'all talking about?
Tell us what he told us we should trust the government polls to understand. No, I'm talking, JD. I'm sorry. You need to be quiet. All right. I was talking. You were cutting me off. You need to be quiet. All right.
All right, fine. You have to explain to Jimmy what's going on. He's not gonna let me speak. So you go ahead.
JD's not gonna have an honest conversation. He's gonna give you a recap and lie to you. I'm gonna tell you the truth. So which one do you want to hear, G-Man? I'll let you decide.
I want to know what the heck y'all talking about. That's all I care about. What are y'all talking about?
We were talking about healthcare and how taxes should or should not be a part of it. That was the initial conversation.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
But don't believe that, because according to Arcane, whatever I just said was a lie. So you should probably just not trust it.
Oh, so I was actually going to get more specific, but since you just want to say, we're talking about healthcare, and Arcane now is talking about something we weren't talking about. You're a freaking liar. You brought up the Gallup poll, and you said, see, now I'm being cut off. I can't even talk because you're a showbag.
You go ahead, get more specific. I want to hear.
You are a showbag who are impossible to have a conversation with because you're a liar. Everything comes out of your mouth, damn near, is a lie. So you need to just chill. All right.
I think showbag is an insult. I don't really get it though.
No, that's your profession, bro. You are a showbag by profession. This is what you do. You come in and obstruct, you lie, and you support big murderous government who robs people blind. You are that guy. So
I don't think the facts
you don't want to let a conversation happen where an opposing point can be made clearly and precisely. So you must obstruct, you must talk over, and you must lie every time. So when I want to talk about specifics, you want to start showbagging. So when I ask you, why do you trust the Gallup?
Projecting a bit there.
You said well, everyone believes this way. You can take a poll. And I said, why do you believe the poll? And you said, because it's correct. So, okay, JD, that's fine.
Well, let's ask this, Arcade. Why don't you believe the polls? Why don't you believe any poll?
I don't trust. I'll put it this way. See, I can actually answer a question directly. All right.
Oh,
I'll put it this way. Yeah, I can do that because I'm not on here with ulterior motives to lie and spread disinformation like you are, sir. So
you got mad skills for answering questions. Let's hear those.
Yeah, that's why you're cutting me off now. You don't want to hear the answer to your question. You're a showbag.
Questions, go for it.
Why ask a question if you don't want to know the answer?
I'm saying
unless you're a showbag.
I'd like to know. I'd like to know.
Honestly, I would like to know too. I would like to know.
I mean, I'd like to know your answer.
Oh, I would too if you'd let me answer it. If you ask me a question, you should let me answer it.
Waiting patiently, Arcane. I don't know what's taking you so long.
Oh, because your showbag mouth keeps running every time I open mine to talk and answer you. So maybe you should be quiet and listen to the answer objectively. See, I don't trust
me rather than answer the question.
Here's my answer. Because you're legitimately cutting me off when I'm actually trying to answer you without dodging. That's the difference.
So this is
why I don't trust your polls, JD.
Not my polls.
For several reasons. It's not that I have reason to doubt that they're inaccurate per se. That would have to be taken on every time I say a sentence, I'm being cut off. Look at this guy. I'm trying to answer this guy, but he doesn't want to hear an honest answer. People like this hate honest answers. No. I'm still talking. Last I thought, I was still talking. I was still answering the question.
You were still answering a question no one asked.
I mean, I thought G wanted to hear my answer too. Maybe you should give G some respect. Maybe you should give G some respect to answer the question. Maybe. So shut up. Yeah, shut your mouth. All right, I'm talking. So to answer your question, I don't necessarily disbelieve any poll outright. Each poll should be taken on a case-by-case basis. You cited a poll, so I'm asking you, why do you trust that poll? So I don't trust anything that comes from the secular government because of their history of lying to me. That's just me. If a person lies to me over and over and over again, I'm not the dummy who's going to continue to believe that person. So Whatever secular source comes to me, I'm gonna vet that source with every ounce of my being.
Yeah,
I'm not just gonna accept it. I'm not done with my answer. Sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I'm not done with my answer.
Yes, but you're lying about me.
All
So
right.
I feel compelled.
Sorry, this is a Christian hangout, bro, and I'm talking to Christians answering to this audience. I don't need your commentary. I'm not done answering my question.
No, this is Antonio's hangout, and when you lie about someone, it's understandable for them to break in.
No one's lying about anyone, JD. So you need to shut up, man. You're really pathetic. I'm answering the question directly. So
let's just get past this lying business because this is just going to go on.
yeah, stop lying, please.
Right.
So I'm going to continue with my answer uninterrupted, and if I don't go uninterrupted, I'm still going to finish one way or another. So we can drag this out for 10 minutes. I don't care. Antonio, it's up to you, but I'm going to continue answering. Each poll should be anything. If you're talking about why should you trust something, all right, it should be taken on a case by case. You cited something specific. Now, if I told you this poll, whatever poll it may be, I trust it.
That would be another lie by Arcane.
And you asked me, and I'll ask the exact same conversation, and you asked me, why do you trust that poll, Arcane? I'm going to give you actual facts. I would say, look, I looked up this, see, I can't get it out, but I'm going to get there, and no matter how long it takes, I'm going to finish this.
Oh, no, I want you to finish. I'm just going to point out the
So you can keep obstructing like a good little shill, or you can just let me answer and shut up. I mean, seriously, just shut up. All right. So that's where we're at. I asked you, why do you trust it? So if you ask me, why do I trust anything, whether it be a freaking poll or an opinion from another person, I'm not just going to say, well, because it's true, or because that person's true, or it's because it's accurate. I'm going to tell you why. And frankly, if a person has been lying to me for years and years and years, I'm not going to accept it. So G-Man asked in the side, you don't trust what the government says? No, G-Man, I do not trust what the government says because the government is a bunch of habitual liars. If I were to trust what the government said, I would be insane by definition.
But polling,
I'm done with my answer.
Okay.
I don't think that's true by definition, but okay.
Yeah, by definition, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. If someone's lying to you over and over and you keep trusting them and you expect them to tell the truth, that's insanity by definition. Maybe the definition of insanity should be put up on the screen instead of your little video game.
Right, well, again, you're mistaking a catchphrase for a truism, which it's not, but that's okay.
Maybe you should understand the difference.
My issue is that there were quite a few things you said there that were not true, and I'm pretty sure you know they're not true, which is why I said they were lies.
Feel free to correct me about anything, JD.
We'll
all wait for it.
Sure. I did not cite a poll. You cited a group.
Gallup. You cited the Gallup poll. Stop lying.
No, that's not a poll. That's a group that does polling. Please tell me you know the difference.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, you don't know the difference. Well, I'll explain.
I asked you why you trust the Gallup, the group that does the polling.
That does polls. They basically do polls for.
Right. So okay, go ahead.
They're not actually a poll themselves. See, there's a difference between the people who do the thing and the thing, which is an issue you've had in the past. But we'll leave.
Okay. Wow, you're so deep, bro. Get to another point, please.
This is not deep. This is grade school.
You're so deep, though. I guarantee you're so deep right now.
Okay, I'm not going.
I have a question. I have a question. I realize that the government lies about things, so I think that's a bit of a broad statement to say that we don't trust the government. Okay, but when you say that you don't trust it, can you be specific about what you don't trust?
I mean, I
don't trust anything
that are not true. We can't say that we don't trust everything that they say.
I don't trust anything that they say that I can't verify by myself.
They say that you can't verify by yourself.
That makes sense, doesn't it, G-Man?
Well, let me ask you something then. If that's true, then, because like I said, the government says a lot of things.
Right.
Verify yourself. Can you verify yourself for certainty? It's going to seem like a really stupid question I'm about to ask you, but you'll understand when I ask it. For certainty that slavery existed in this country.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, when you say for certainty, right? Like all I could say is I have proof that satisfies my criteria for being certain about slavery happening in America, but that might not necessarily be yours. But I'm convinced that it did happen here. Yes, I can say it's certain. I can say it's certain that it happened, but that doesn't come from a government source, though, G-Man. That's independent of.
Okay, but I agree with you, though. Do you know for certain that there was really an Emancipation Proclamation?
The Emancipation, yeah.
Yeah. Can you know for certain? Can you know for certain that that's the case? That there's an Emancipation Proclamation. Slavery was in.
I will say this. I'm saying it would be possible to confirm that without the government, but have I personally confirmed it? No.
Okay, but you believe.
But it's possible. There are things that are possible to check out. I'm not saying the government lies about everything, but what I'm saying is, if I can't,
but that was my
personally
point. My whole point was is that it sounded like you made a broad statement when you said that. Because I know you were talking about yourself. All right, you said
it is a broad statement. I don't trust anything the government says.
Right? It's doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I don't think Arcane is necessarily saying.
My whole point is that if you're going to say that we shouldn't trust the government, you should be very specific when you say that, because if we were to say that we're not going to trust them at all points, then I can't believe that there's an Emancipation Proclamation. I can't believe there's ever slavery in this country.
Well,
I can't believe anything that's out their mouth. You got to be specific.
Well, can you verify any of that on your own? See, this is what I'm talking about. It's not that we shouldn't just believe things, and these are historical claims, by the way. None of us were alive back then. So we have to rely on secondhand information coming from people that were there, that wrote it down, etc. But when we're talking about things that, what's that?
Our Bibles are secondhand information. We get those from historians, from the apostles. We get those.
Well, hold on, brother. Wait. Don't do that now. Wait, hold on now.
Wait a minute. Let me finish. We get these from Moses. I never met Moses. Okay. We get these from Jeremiah, Ezekiel.
Well, we get it from God, so I don't grant that same presupposition, bro.
Hosea, Obadiah, and all of them and whatnot. We get those from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I never met none of these people, but by faith, I believe, by faith and some historical evidence, rather, I believe that these people were real and the things that they wrote in the Bible was true. Okay, so that's why that argument doesn't work when we say that it's secondhand information we're hearing from the government. And you're right. Wait a second.
Now. You can't equate the Bible.
I can go outside, and if somebody tries to own me the way they own people back then, I can go to the police station and say, look, they're breaking the law. You know what I mean? They're trying to say that they can own me, and then they'll put a stop to it. That's how I know that we have laws.
That's not the same thing, G-Man. You can't say that the Bible is secondhand information when God wrote it. We're talking about a book that God wrote versus a bunch of claims that man is making about history. That's two totally different things. If you hold on, G-Man. Hold on. If you're trying to equate the Bible to a bunch of stuff that men wrote, then you might have a case. But I don't grant that presupposition. I know that every single word in that Bible, unless stated otherwise, was from Yahweh himself. So if you were saying, hold on, G-Man. So I don't have any reason, G-Man,
to write the Bible.
G-Man, I have no reason to doubt anything in Scripture because it comes from God Almighty. All right. These government texts that you're talking about don't come from God. They come from men who are corrupt and are known liars. Your government has been lying to you about your history since day one.
Chapter 13, we're commanded to submit to the governing authorities. All right. So that doesn't work.
Okay. So you want to pull up Scripture? What about the Scripture that says to reprove evil things and to expose liars and wicked? Okay, G-Man, your mind is closed, bro.
And again, I believe that they're lying about a lot of things in government. I do believe that.
Well, according to you, the Bible and the government are the same.
Wait a minute, Arcane. Okay, hold on a minute, Arcane, because I don't want to be misrepresenting here either. I also believe that that the government is telling us a lot of truth on and a lot of things as well, and it can be verified by testing the things that they're saying. We can go to the government documents to see what it says. We can go to the courtrooms and bring those documents with us, and we can, whether legally, whether it's in our personal life. We know that there are grants that we can get from the government that we can go to school with, et cetera, et cetera.
Let God be true and every man be a liar, right?
Wait a minute, hold on. There are things that they're telling us the truth about, and there are things that they're lying about on purpose. Every government in history has been that way. But to insinuate that we shouldn't trust government at all, which is what you were suggesting in the beginning, without clarifying yourself. Let me finish. Without clarifying yourself, that's the cause for a little bit of confusion, because now
I did clarify myself. So stop misrepresenting me, brother. I did clarify myself. What did I say?
Not in the beginning, you didn't. Not in the beginning.
What did I say? What did I say? JD, this is a conversation that you're in right now, so you should stay out of it.
All right, Kane, please let G-Man finish. I'd like to hear.
JD, this is not your room. Sorry, stop it. So you're not going to sit here and put words in my mouth. I did clarify. I said, if you can't verify it yourself, first of all, I don't trust government at all. That is a generalized statement. I said that and I admitted that. That's a general statement. I have no reason to trust government. Why? Because they're habitual liars. Put it to you like this, G-Man. If I lied to you, me, Arcane, if I lied to you day in and day out, right? But every now and then I said a few things that are true. Yeah, 2 + 2 is 4. And the sky's blue. And the sun is orange. But guess what, G-Man? You're actually a white guy. You know what I'm saying? I can give you some truth, but that doesn't mean you should trust me, because 9 times out of 10, I'm still lying to you. The same thing applies to the government. It is an organization that is corrupt from the very core. So just because they say some true stuff every now and then doesn't mean that you should trust their authority on anything. And this is what I said. If you can't, and this is what I said, if you can't verify it for yourself, you should be rationally skeptical of it, because the information is coming from known liars. And if I have to defend that anymore, that's pretty sad by anybody else on the panel who challenges it.
You haven't defended it yet. All right, you start with
self-explanatory. I don't need to defend what I just said. It's
yeah,
logical.
You do.
No, I don't.
I can talk about how I know the government has lied about certain things. The Kennedy assassination is one of them, and there's a plethora of other things that they lied about too.
Yeah, the ball Earth is another. Heliocentrism is another. Evolution is another. The Bible is another. We can go along down the line. Sandy Hook, 9/11.
Wait a minute. As far as weapons of mass destruction being in Iraq when they wasn't there, things like that. I see, however,
so why would you trust anything else they say?
To insinuate that we should not trust the government at all is ridiculous.
Okay, so if they'll lie and
I can use the Old Testament with Joseph. I can use the New Testament with Paul. I can use the New Testament with Jesus, for crying out loud. We're not supposed to have that attitude. What we're supposed to have is a little bit of discernment. To know
it says,
when the
let God be true and every man be a liar. It seems like you're trying to put God and man on the same platform.
No, I'm not. I don't think you're listening to a word that's coming out of my mouth.
But it sounds like to me.
Check this out. I don't trust the government so much as I trust God, that he can work with putting his people into certain places in government. That's how I would put it.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Yeah, but come on.
If I may for a second, I think there's this odd idea of what.
There's an argument about whether or not we have a secular argument or not. I mean, a secular government too, because I don't believe we have a secular government. I want to make sure that's clear.
The thing is, I think there's this odd idea of what the government. I keep hearing the word "the government" as if it's this one monolithic, horrible beast filled with liars and murderers and rapists and some other horrible things. When it is. There are files. Okay, no, there are file. All right, listen. There are file clerks. There are people who push papers and know next day, and they are part of, quote unquote, the government. There are people who work for the government only do philanthropic work. There are people who work for the government only so they can go to, like my sister who went to Bolivia and helped translate, and she worked for the government. The government is not all sinister, horrible people. It just doesn't work that way. There are.
No one's saying that. Right. So stop misrepresenting us.
All right, CIA, NSA. There are groups that are, that have.
Didn't you claim to work for the NSA?
Again, have a more. I can't talk about that, but they have more.
Oh, you can't talk about that. Yeah, you're a shill.
Right. Well. That's
not, yeah, obviously. Yeah, you can't talk about it.
These corporations have a more dubious record with the truth.
I can understand why you can't give. If you worked in the government in the past, I can understand why you couldn't give away certain information. So I wouldn't even ask you about it.
Well, I work for the government. If he worked for the NSA, he can't say so. I mean, this guy is, come on, listen to this guy.
It's true that the government lies sometimes. But the thing is, like, for instance, the CIA, they tend to lie not to us, but to other foreign entities because they're on our side. We, in fact, hire them to be on our side. That's what their job is to do foreign, I guess from outside perspective, like foreign terrorism, basically foreign espionage, spying, keeping apprised of foreign governments to make sure they don't harm us. So yes, the CIA lies, so it's the NSA, but they're doing it for us. They're not lying to us because of some cabal in the government. They're doing it because they're actually trying to protect us. That's the role of the CIA.
So what about when?
There's still a little more.
Go ahead.
So I keep hearing like the government lies. That doesn't really mean anything because the government isn't just one monolithic organization. It's people we put in there. And the issue is a lot of times you might think they're lying, but there are checks and balances to make sure that people who lie don't get reelected, that they get caught lying. For instance, if a Democrat says something that's a lie, Republicans have a good reason to say, hey, he lied. Don't elect him again. We want that seat. So there's checks and balances to make sure there's not rampant dishonesty throughout the government. It's not run by Satan or the Illuminati or the Freemasons. It's run by us. We put the people there.
That's a lie. George Washington himself was a Freemason. If you look up, go to Washington, you'll see Freemasonry all through the government. You see they got their statues everywhere. But what about John Kennedy? This is the president we're talking about here. And he said, we are opposed around the world by a monolithic conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, and its sphere of influence spans throughout the entire military industrial complex and every aspect of government. This is coming from the president of the United States. So this isn't a conspiracy theorist telling you. This isn't some guy on the internet telling you. This is from your commander in chief right before his head was blown to bits. So for you to sit up here, Mr. NSA, and say, well, no, all of that is buffooey. It's not run by Freemasons or Satanists. That's exactly what an NSA show would say.
All right. Well,
so that's exactly what you would say if you work for the government. So I'm going to believe the president who got his head blown off over an NSA shill on the internet.
Arcane, are you suggesting that there was the death of Kennedy was due to a conspiracy?
I'm saying that. Oh, I got to echo.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
I'm saying I'm not even sure Kennedy was killed, to be honest with you. That could have been a double for all we know, because I was not there.
Arcane,
I did not see the body. Can you let me finish a question that you asked me, or are you going to jump on me and say seriously?
Seriously, that's insane.
Seriously, what kind of, yeah, you're insane.
All right, see,
we're not letting me answer the question.
It's really bad.
Right.
Really bad.
So anyone with another opinion, so I get asked a question, I get a sentence out, and if it doesn't agree with your historical narrative, it's insane. You people are cowards to the core.
If I may
okay, what? Okay,
so, mind you, hold on, DD. This is the same government, though, that teaches kids that they come from monkeys. Are you saying that I'm insane for not believing them?
Okay, so
what evidence?
Let's be honest.
What evidence do you have to suggest that John F. Kennedy was not assassinated, and the photographs that we have of John F. Kennedy were not him?
Did I make a claim and say that it wasn't him that was assassinated? No, I did not.
Okay, so
I got an echo. So if you can mute and actually listen to me instead of saying I'm insane, you might actually understand.
Is it your point? Is it your point? Is it your point that John F. Kennedy was assassinated, that it was the product of a conspiracy?
Can you let me answer you? Is that okay? Like I said, I'm going to stick with my original answer. I wasn't there. I wasn't even alive then. I'm going off of video evidence, off of photographic evidence, and what the government told me. For all I know, John F. Kennedy was assassinated. For all I know, he was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald. For all I know, he was assassinated by the government.
Maybe he's a reptilian from Mars. Who knows?
I can't, but see, listen at JD. See, I'm giving a rational, skeptical answer, and he wants to associate it with some bullshit. Why don't you stick to what I say and address what I say?
I'm just wondering. I'm only asking.
Because this is what skeptics are supposed to do, and it seems like you guys are pseudo-skeptics.
Arcane, I'm only asking why you're adding the reference that he had his head blown off.
Because it's just very odd to me that a person comes out. I got an echo. It's very odd to me. It doesn't do anything to do away with a conspiracy. If this guy comes out and says, yes, there's a monolithic, megalithic conspiracy going on within government, and it's trying to take over the world, and it's murdersome. It has its sphere of influence spans the entire military industrial complex down to the banks. And we should be aware and opposed to it. He says this not long after he gets his head blown off. So if they're not trying to give the impression that there is a conspiracy, they're doing a very piss poor job. And I'm just saying from a skeptical standpoint, if it comes from the government, take it with a grain of salt until you can verify it. I don't know what happened with Kennedy. That could have been a double, that could have been him. I can't verify it. But what I am saying is this quote came from the president, not some kook off the internet, not some conspiracy theorist. So JD's sitting here saying, no, there's no conspiracy in government. No, there's no Satanists or Freemasons in your government offices. No, it's just people that run the government. He's lying. And even the president of the United States says so.
I don't think you know what a lie is, Arcane.
Sorry.
I'm telling you something that I believe to
Okay,
be true.
you work for the NSA?
It's not a lie. I'm telling you
You
something
work
that
for the NSA?
I'm not allowed to talk about that, but I am saying
Okay,
something.
well then why should I trust you, Mister? I can't tell you what I do for a living.
You should trust me based on what you can verify yourself.
Right.
So
and how can I verify anything you're saying, Mr. NSA?
Look it up. I mean, I'm not here to teach
Exactly.
you.
I've looked it up, and this is what the president says. He says we can't trust government. So
okay, but
I'll
you just
believe
said,
him
well,
before I believe you,
president
Mr.
is the
NSA.
head
I can't
of
say.
government.
Come
How
on.
do you, what president is government, mate?
Yeah, the president's the head of the government. Yeah, I'll trust the head of the government, not the rest of it. I mean, make up your mind. Is the government all liars and murderers and horrible Freemasons or not? Hey, Kennedy was a Catholic. How awful was he? Make up your mind.
Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Jesus was assassinated.
I mean, what evidence did
How's that bad logic? You said because Jesus was assassinated, it's bad logic. Please explain that. I'm done talking to Mr. NSA for a second. He's not saying anything. He's just asking dumb questions.
What evidence did Kennedy present to verify that there's this huge cabal in government? I'm listening. Or did he just, you know?
I'm going off of his authority.
Arcane, did you just say Jesus was assassinated?
No, G-Man said it in the side chat. He said, Arcane, that's bad logic. Hold on, let me finish. You asked me a question. Mute your mic, please. G-Man asked in the side chat, or he said, Arcane, that's bad logic.
That was a typo.
Where were you when Jesus was assassinated?
That was
Arcane,
a typo.
that's bad logic. Listen, G-Man, I already said,
what I was saying.
G-Man, I already said there's a difference between what God wrote down and what the government tells you. If you're putting God and the government on the same platform and saying that you're not making sense.
G-Man made a typo, man.
For a moment, Arcane, thank you. What I meant over here is that Jesus was killed. All right? This is the logic that you used. Because you wasn't born and you wasn't there and you didn't see the Kennedy assassination happen, then you're going to take it with a grain of salt. It could have been a double, it could have been a shill or whatever, right? Okay, fine.
We're talking about government, man, not the word of God. Or do you understand? I said that 10 minutes ago, but for some reason that must have missed you. I don't know why.
I like to finish a thought, bro. You've been complaining about people interrupting you. Now let me finish. I listen to everything that you have to
because
say.
you're not listening.
The Bible says that we should be quick to listen and slow to speak. How about we obey the scriptures?
Yeah, and it says, let God be true and every man a liar. Do you follow that portion? Obviously not.
Well, let me talk. Let me talk. How about you ask like I like a believer for like 5 seconds, all right? Now, what my point was this, okay?
Yeah, stop lying for 5 seconds. Good night.
I'm listening to what you're saying.
Okay, let him finish, bro.
Because you're saying that we wasn't there, and I wasn't there. I wasn't born yet, I don't think, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. But I have relatives that was alive when it happened.
What was my point?
Some people on planet Earth are still alive who claim they witnessed the assassination. Now, here's the thing now, okay? If you're going to say that we shouldn't trust that Kennedy was actually killed, that he could have been a double or a shill.
Oh my gosh. That's not what I said, but
by
all means, continue strawmanning me. By all means. Go ahead, G-Man.
Arcane. Word for word. Arcane, dude, are you going to let me finish, bro? Because
are you going to keep strawmanning me, bro? I mean, seriously, this is pathetic.
Bro, let me talk, bro. That's the problem. That's the problem with you, bro. You don't let other people talk.
You're strawmanning. You don't listen.
Do I need to hide people while they talk?
Antonio, please give me mind control. Because I would have took care of that.
You already have mind control.
I do?
Yeah.
Arcane, I'm asking you to be quiet, bro. As a moderator in this room, I'm asking you to be quiet for a moment, okay? So here's the thing now. Okay?
I got mind control too.
All
what are you
I'm saying, Arcane.
All right, can I bring it back?
All I'm saying, Arcane.
G-Man, can I jump in for 1 second?
Hold on a minute, JD.
Stop.
Whoa, that was weird. I actually found the speech.
All I'm saying is this. All right? If you're going to sit there and say that you shouldn't trust the Kennedy assassination because you wasn't there, then you got a problem with the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ because you wasn't there.
Wow.
We accept what Christ did by faith, right?
So that's the same.
Okay,
right?
Wait a minute. I'm not done yet. You also wasn't there when Kennedy made that speech about what he said about the people working behind the scenes. We accept that by faith.
I heard him say it.
Okay? The same way we, and by the way, it's by faith and a little bit of evidence because the paperwork and everything is out there and whatnot for us to see. I think there was recordings of Kennedy actually saying this. Okay, now you also believe by faith that Kennedy was assassinated because we have the video footage of him being assassinated. So you can't argue like that. I understand you don't trust the government. I can give just as many reasons as you can on why we shouldn't trust the government on a lot of things.
But there were a lot of eyewitnesses to Kennedy's assassination.
At all, it's ridiculous.
Okay, first of all, are you done straw manning me so I can correct you now?
Actually, Arcane, I was going to correct you first.
Actually, no, sorry, JD. I'm going to respond to G-Man. I'm sorry. That's not how this works. You're not going to know. Sorry, you're not going to shotgun me and not give me a chance to respond to what he.
I'm sorry. How about you just shut up for a minute while I refute your main argument?
No, sorry. That's not how this is going to work.
Sure, how about I just...
Sorry, I'm going to respond to what I was just charged with. Sorry, G-Man. That's not about. It's not the same at all to say that since I wasn't alive when Jesus was here, I should have the same faith in the government as I have that Jesus existed. That is the dumbest thing I've heard all day, bro. First of all, the word of God is in no way should be compared to a government claim about history. We're talking about God here. So I don't have faith that Jesus lived. I know Jesus lived because I walk with him today, brother. I know Jesus Christ. I don't have to have faith in Jesus in the same way I have faith in what the government tells me. So that is a flaw in logic in your part, brother. And as a Christian, I'm ashamed that you would even charge me with that and say it's bad logic that I don't trust the government, even though I wasn't alive then. But I trust Jesus, even though I wasn't alive when Jesus was here. That is completely insane, brother. I'm sorry, but that is insane. What I actually said was, I wasn't alive when Kennedy was assassinated. I was not there. So I can't make any claims either way of certitude of what happened. Did I say I believe that he was assassinated? I believe that the government did it? Did I say I believe this? No. What I said was, if you're going to be an honest skeptic, if you weren't there and you can't verify it with your own two eyes and your own senses, you should be a rational skeptic. And coming from the government, I could come up with plausible reasons, reasonable doubt, all right, that says the government had something to do with it. Does that mean that I can prove it? No. That just means that as a skeptic, I'm going to not bury my head in the sand and just accept what the government says just because it's some sort of established authority here on earth. And by all means, G-Man, if you have the same faith in government that you have in Jesus Christ, I would urge you to repent, my brother.
Okay,
Antonio, can I jump in real quick?
Statement, Antonio?
Yeah, go ahead, G-Man.
It's your room. Just mute him because I want to make sure I got to say what I want to say. I don't want to be interrupted, okay?
All right, can I go after G-Man?
Now, anybody can rewind this, and you can go after me, JD King. Look, because I'm not going to respond no more to him after I say this. All of you who are watching this heard him say that that a former president made some statements about the Illuminati and about some people in power that were alive before our king was even born, right? About there being a monolithic conspiracy, a covert monolithic conspiracy. He wasn't there for that either. He doesn't even know if they're making that up. He doesn't know if they're putting bad information out there on purpose to verify anything that they're saying with that. All right. So this is what I meant by faith, Arcane. I need you to really pay attention to this, okay? I'm not talking. First of all, there are different sides of faith. There's saving faith, and there are different types of faith in the scripture and whatnot. Okay. When I say faith, I'm talking about this trust, this confident trust that we have in the information that's being given to us. I have confident trust based on video footage, based on governmental documents that we have, based on people who witnessed the actual assassination.
That's not even the point. Come on, dude.
Wait a minute, Arcane. I didn't interrupt you, Arcane. I did not interrupt you.
Finish, okay? You gotta let the man finish.
You're right about
that. Come on, Antonio. They ain't even hitting on the point I made, man. This is sick.
Wait a minute, Arcane. You did it. Okay. Now, here's the thing, bro. Based on government documents, based on video footage that I can screen share all of right now, if you would like, that Kennedy was assassinated, and I do not believe he was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald based on books and research that I've done personally. But I do believe he was assassinated. All right?
So do I,
now,
bro. So what?
I also believe, wait a minute, Arcane, you need to pay attention to this now, okay?
So what? I do too. I agree.
Wait a minute, hold on. I believe that Jesus Christ was crucified and that he rose from the dead based on eyewitness testimony, same thing that I'm getting from the Kennedy assassination, based on historical documents. That would be the word of God, the Bible, and secular sources like Josephus and people like that and whatnot. And and things. And I have a personal revelation that this actually happened concerning my personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So don't try to sit there, bro, and try to make it sound like that I'm trying to say that they're the same thing. What I'm doing is I'm being intellectually honest enough.
You just did. What are you talking about? You just did.
I'm being intellectually honest enough, Arcane.
Finish, man.
Come on, man.
I'm being intellectually honest enough to look at what's being put before me and deciding whether or not I want to accept it or whether or not I want to reject it. Okay? If you're going to
so you're your own authority over the Bible, then, right?
Former president said something about a monolithic conspiracy. You wasn't born. You don't know what his motives was. You don't know what he's doing. Then you have to. What
was my point?
Then you have to be consistent with everything else that you are saying.
What was my point then?
I'm saying.
Are you charging me with being inconsistent somewhere?
Arcane.
All right, get to a point that I can address.
So let JDK say what he's going to say, and I will gladly mute my microphone and listen to all 15 minutes of what you have to say. Okay?
All right, so my issue is Arcane's made evidence that, Kennedy was exposing the Illuminati, Freemasons, etc. was the speech he gave right before. Well, I have the speech here, and you'll see that it does not fit with the context Arcane is trying to put to it. I'm going to read out a small segment here. You can call me a liar all you want, but you've never supported that with evidence.
You're taking me out of context and you're lying through your teeth, but please read it. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sure. Let's see if this is in context then. Today, no war has been declared. However fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No border has been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you're awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say the danger has never been more clear and its presence has never been more imminent. It requires a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions, by the government, by the people, by every businessman or labor leader, and by every newspaper. And here's where Arcane's quote is. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. He's talking about Russia, you moron.
No, sorry. What does it say? Around the world by a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligent, scientific, and political. So it's not just talking about Russia. It's talking about the world, you lying shillbag. And so I'm gonna address G-Man now. Excuse me, shillbag. Excuse me, shillbag. You just owned yourself. I'm sorry. You have to stop, sir. I'm sorry. You just owned yourself. Now, can we get back to what G-Man was saying? G-Man, I'm sorry, bro.
Anyone agree with me?
No one here would read that and agree with you. I'm gonna make that claim on behalf of the panel. Let's move on. That's dumb.
Let's talk about it for a sec. He mentioned it conducts the Cold War. Is this secret organization in the Cold War? They mentioned about, dissenters or silenced, dissenters from the Illuminati or dissenters from, say, Russia, which their free speech was cut down. Is mistakes are buried? What mistakes have the Illuminati made?
Are you done?
I'm just listening for some way you're trying to make this about.
No, you're just asking questions. At this point, you have not made a point, and you've been clearly refuted. Everything that is said right there by Kennedy, I agree. I actually have no issue with what was said there. I actually agree that yes, we are opposed around the world by a conspiracy. And you said it doesn't depend on guerrillas. It says, what is it? What does it say here?
Just read it. I'm highlighting.
Yeah, you're highlighting. I'm trying to get on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. He's not talking about Russia. He's talking about the occult government. He's talking about the hidden hand behind government. Yeah, it conducts the Cold War as well. It's in every aspect of government. You're trying to say, well, it just means the Cold War when nowhere does it say it's explicitly to Russia.
All right, look at the next.
It says around. We are opposed around the world. So when it says we are opposed around the world, that's Russia.
Russia was involved in Cuba, which is around the world, and also in Russia on the other side of the world. There was China, yes, all around the world.
Okay.
Communism.
Yeah, those are armies by day. It says armies by day, and they have elections. They're not talking about Russia. So please move on. You're a shillbag, and you're not making sense.
Explaining that you're just around
you refuted yourself. This is very sad. Please, you're desperate. You are so desperate to defend your government, Mr. NSA. I do not care.
I will highlight. It conducts
do you work for the NSA?
It conducts the Cold War in short. Here's the important part. Here's the important part. With a wartime discipline, no democracy would ever help or wish to match, as opposed to communism. Communism is what we're talking about here.
Yeah. So none of that applies. All right. So
it was this.
So none of that would apply.
This is
right.
when.
Okay. Yeah. You're a shillbag.
All right, listen, I understand, Arcane, that you know nothing.
Do you work for the government or do you not? Answer the question. Do you work for the government?
The issue here is that you know absolutely nothing about government
You're talking to a shill, folks.
Again, shill or not, I'm right, and it's demonstrable. And if you look at any review of this speech.
Say it all you want to, JD.
Would you like to continue? I mean, I'll bet there's more.
No, I want you to just be done because you're not making any point whatsoever. You say it's Russia. Okay, go ahead and prove it's Russia, and then we'll believe you. Prove that he's talking about Russia, JD, and then we'll believe you. Until then, we're moving on, all right? Because
here's the biggest one. All right, I missed this because this also is pretty. If the press is waiting a declaration of war what? Against the Illuminati? Is that what you're thinking? He's going to declare war on the Illuminati? Is that what you like the war on terrorism today?
Because you can really declare war on a shadow government, JD. You're brilliant, bro. Just stop. You're making yourself look stupider by the second.
And declare war on countries, which is what he's.
Bro, please stop. Please stop it.
Oh no,
I'm going to keep. Your desperation is really reaching. Can we move on? Can I ask the panel if we can move on?
No, I don't want to move on until you are.
Go ahead.
I'm going to keep wrecking you. I hope you don't mind. You're okay with that?
Well, it's okay that you're desperate and you want to climb out of your hole, but
here's a better thing. How many times?
You're going to declare war on the Illuminati, right? You're smart.
You have to ask.
I declare war on the shadow government, right? Yeah, that works.
He doesn't mention the existence of a shadow government, does he? Find anywhere in the speech he mentions a shadow government, the Illuminati, or the Freemasons. Where does he mention it? Is that your way of saying no? It doesn't. Thank you.
You guys want to keep talking about this because he's obviously not even letting me respond to him. He's just shilling. So let me know, guys. What do you guys want to do?
All your responses are ad hoc because you've never.
Antonio, what do you want to do? Antonio, what do you want before?
I'll leave it up to you two.
Well,
he's not letting me respond, Antonio. He's shilling. See?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's take our.
Guys. Hey, what do you want to do, guys? You on JD's side or not?
JD Kane. I'm going to meet with JD Kane. Let him talk for a little bit and say what he's got to say. All right.
Thank you, G man. Oh, brother.
Let Arcane say what he's going to say.
Honestly,
all right, go ahead.
Honestly, if you guys read the same thing he just read and you think that it's talking about Russia, there's something wrong with you. I don't even have to defend that. So if he wants to believe it's Russia, he can keep shilling away and saying, Arcane, you're wrong. It's Russia. Even though this guy says that he can't tell me if he works for the NSA or not. So believe anything that comes out of this shill's mouth, by all means, guys. So I'm done with this conversation until he can prove it's Russia. I've made my point, and my point was already made, is that this is the president talking about this monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means instead of elections and armies by day. That's not Russia. That is some sort of shadow government that there's a lot of evidence. So look this up. If you're not familiar with Freemasonry, by the way, JD admitted to being a Freemason a few weeks ago.
I have more
information. Wait.
You cannot trust a Freemason, bro. Let me just say this last thing. He admitted to being a Freemason. Now, Freemasons take oaths of secrecy to move up into the degrees of their so-called brotherhood fraternity. So he's not allowed, if he is a Mason, he's not allowed to tell you certain truths that have been revealed to him. So if you're putting your credence versus me or versus JD, who would you rather trust? Someone who believes in Christ, which says, I have done nothing in secret. I tell everything out in the open, or somebody who swears blood oaths of secrecy not to tell the truth to people? Which one of y'all me or JD?
JD Kane, let me ask you something. Sure. Do you also believe that Russia hacked the elections?
Not sure. I mean, It's rare for the FBI and CIA to be on the same page. They're usually not. So the fact that they both agree and in fact convinced Trump finally that it was the case, I'm willing to say it's more likely true than false. That they hack the elections kind of is a weird thing to say. They influence the elections, and that's pretty trivial to say, really. If I may, Antonio, there's a couple more things I want to mention about this this speech that Arcane. Is it okay?
Go ahead.
All right. So here's the beginning of the speech. Again, I'm pretty sure, and Arcane can correct me if I'm wrong, that he's going off a quote he got off a conspiratorial website. He did not read the speech. Is that true, Arcane?
Oh, I actually heard the speech and I read the speech and I actually did a report on the speech in college. So stop with your shillbaggery and make a point, okay?
So, you went to college and you did a report on the whole speech, correct?
And the speech was involved in it, yes.
Oh, the speech was involved in it, but you haven't read the whole speech.
Yes, well, dude, quit with your shillbaggery and make a point, Mr. NSA. I can't say, all right? Make a point, all right?
Simple question.
I don't play your game. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and play your little stupid game.
You haven't actually answered the question. I asked, did you read the whole speech?
Make a point, all right? I don't need to answer your questions. You won't even tell me if you work for the NSA. When you answer that question, I'll answer the rest of your questions. How about that?
All right, fair enough. So if you had read it, notice that it opens up discussing Marx. Who's Marx? Who's Karl Marx? Oh, okay, you don't know. Karl Marx was the
somebody you probably worship. I told you I'm not answering your shillbag questions. You can make a point. Fine. You don't need my help for that, Mr. NSA. I can't say. So tell me if you work for the NSA, then I'll answer your stupid question.
Fine, don't answer. So he came up with communism, and so it starts talking about that. Then it moves on to, as you can see by the quote, Leninism, Stalinism, revolution in the Cold War. This is the beginning of the speech. He continues about capitalism and continues talking about Marx. I see nothing about the Illuminati, Freemasons, or any kind of shadow government apart from the one that the communists were doing it when they were spying on us and sending people around the world. And I don't know, maybe you don't know anything about the Cold War, but that's kind of what it was. It was shadowy stuff rather than outright hostility. As you read the rest of the speech, you'll see that this is a secret service. I'm just skimming through here at this point.
Yeah, that's all you can do. You can't give context.
Most definitely a speech about Russia and communism. And the issue that he said, that he's framing it as, again, this is a speech. It's not entirely perfectly true. The idea that we have a free and open society and they don't. They work in secret. Their people are silenced and ours aren't. And that's why we're awesome and they're not. That's the idea of the speech. Okay. If you read the whole speech, that's kind of the point he's trying to get.
Sure it is, yeah.
Well, you don't need to take my word for it. You could read the speech, which you could.
Yeah, please. I invite everyone to read this speech. Actually, go listen to it in audio, which like I did the first time I heard it. You can hear him saying this. Type it in YouTube and go look it up. Yeah, stop talking over. Let a conversation happen, Mr. Shillbag. All right, Mr. NSA. I can't say. Every time I start talking, you have to start yapping your trap because this is your job, right? Yeah, this is your job.
You said you're going to ask questions, but you are going to interrupt consistently. Is that what I'm getting?
And then you're going to mute me? Okay, Mr. Mute Bag. I can mute too. You want to go war for war with muting, or you just want to talk? Huh?
Well, again, you refuse to answer questions, so we're...
Right. Let's just mute then.
We're not talking much if you refuse to answer.
Yeah, answer my question first. Are you NSA or no?
In fact, made a point of saying you're not going to answer questions. So why are you muting me? Why?
Not from an NSA shillbag. Why should I answer questions from an NSA shillbag?
It doesn't have anything to do with the topic. Just talk about the topic for crying out loud.
The topic was that...
No, he won't answer the question whether it works for the NSA. Do you know what the NSA is, G-Man?
Isn't that the national security? That's the national.
Are they a branch of the government?
Yes. But that's irrelevant. We're talking about.
Are they a branch of the government, G-Man?
Yes.
That's irrelevant. We're supposed to be talking.
Are they a branch? It is very relevant because he's defending the government. You don't think that's a conflict of interest?
Well, that ain't the point. We need this.
That is the point that I'm making. You don't want to address my point, though. It's obvious, G-Man. You want to address every little point you want to make, and you haven't addressed a single point I've made all night. So I don't expect you to, bro. No, you haven't. You straw man me up and down all night.
I don't know what part of the world that you live in.
And if there were any other brothers with any kind of discernment in here, they would call you out on that too.
Just unbroadcast.
I haven't been doing nothing all night. It's lunchtime right now, so I don't.
Don't mute me.
Antonio, I haven't asked before, but at this point, could you unbroadcast Arcane for a minute or two?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead and oblige.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Arcane. That's how I do things, Arcane. Goodbye. Yeah. All right. You need to calm down, bro, and learn how to have a conversation. Because if you do that when I got mind control, you know what's going to happen. All right. I don't play that. You know them.
All right. So my issue is now I'm looking. I admit I had not read this speech until now, but as I look through it, everything points to a discussion of communism. Like this next, just random. I'll pick this here, just this paragraph. I have no intention of establishing a new office of war information to govern the flow of news. What sense would that have to do with the Illuminati? It makes sense in comparison to communism, which does not have that has an office of war information. He's making comparisons, saying, look how great we are, look how crappy communism in Russia is, because this is the Cold War era. 61 was the Cold War was in full blow. We almost blew ourselves up later when Kennedy had to deal with them sending missiles to Cuba. So this is when the Cold War was at its peak, and this is what this speech is about. In fact, many of Kennedy's speeches were about communism in Russia and how we're awesome and they're not. I actually agree with him. We're awesome and they're not, but still. Is the initiative of national security. It goes on. That's just the first section of the speech. And the second one, he starts using some pretty much stronger language, but it's so obviously aimed at communism and Russia. As far as around the world, Arcane didn't like that particular phrase, or thought that it had to do with some kind of shadow government around the world. No, it had to do with the fact that communism was everywhere. It was in our hemisphere. It was over there. So look, if you look at the map, China, Russia, Cuba, that covers a lot of ground, and not to mention, Vietnam, Korea, places like that. Communism was spreading, and in a sense, Americans and democratic countries felt that they needed to oppose it, and we did oppose it. We fought a couple wars over it, at least a couple. So, all right, well, that kind of covers it. This speech is so clearly about that. It's so clearly about communism, and yet Arcane was determined to talk over me the entire time to make sure I couldn't get that point out. And I think everyone here can agree that if you look at the speech, if you read it in its entirety, there's no doubt what he's talking about. There's no hidden dimension here. I mean, it opens talking about Marx and then moves on to Stalinism, Leninism, no mention of the Illuminati, no mention about the Freemasons. The thing is, he's a president. He could mention them by name, like the Illuminati are awful. I have proof. If I die, it's because of them. He could have done that. Instead, no. He's clearly making a speech about communism. Anyway, I will give up the floor.
Well, I'd like to say something about your comment about Russia, because I completely disagree with that. That's what John F. Kennedy was talking about. I think Arcane was correct in the sense that he was talking about people behind the scenes that were that had something to do with the conspiracy that he was talking about. And while I can't provide any evidence for that now, in the sense of videos or anything like that or documents, I could do it later. But Russia, no, that's not even remotely close to what he was talking about. So that's all I'll say. You don't have to agree with me, but it definitely wasn't no Russia.
No, well, wait, you talking about Russia with Kennedy? I'm not sure what you mean by Russia.
The statement that Kennedy made about the monolithic conspiracy. And they're not talking about Russia. And it's completely obvious that it wasn't talking about Russia. There are videos on the internet. There are.
Well, I made my case, and you can, of course, make yours another time. But I think if you look at the language, if you look at the words used, I think you might eventually agree that it's talking about Russia, but you don't have to. All right, so I can't really add.
It's possible that it was Russia, unless Russia was running the U.S. back then. And back then we had a Cold War going on, so that certainly wasn't the case. As a matter of fact, back then, if you was found to be a communist, they harassed you, they arrested you, and they mistreated you if they found that you was a communist back then. So no, that's not even remotely close.
I'm not sure if I feel like we're arguing two different points here. Like we might be arguing about something we actually agree on. You don't think that Kennedy was referring to Russia in the speech? Is that what you mean?
He wasn't talking about it in the speech, and the presidents before him wasn't talking about Russia in his speech.
Well, I'm not sure about president reform, because the Cold War was really just starting to heat up when Kennedy was in office. I'm not sure about
the president
at this point, it's 61.
The president before Kennedy was talking about bankers.
Right. Yeah, so, you mentioned they actually
running things right now. It's the people with the money that's running everything right now. It's painstakingly obvious. Just go look at the crash of the financial collapse of this country back in 2008. It's painstakingly obvious that the people with the money is the one running this country.
I'm actually not seeing anything in the speech about bankers. He mentions a call to arms of sorts. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's in section 2. Yeah, where he talks about a change in outlook, a change in tactics, a change in missions. He's talking about how we need to be. In fact, he's actually kind of defining, explaining that the Cold War demands that we act in a way that we would normally act during wartime, because we're at war, but not one where we're firing missiles at each other. But we are still at war. That's kind of like this paragraph.
When you post a Google Hangout on this specific topic, I'd like to come.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Because I only know so much. Honestly, I'm not an expert in this at all. I would like to talk to someone who's. I think we have a couple historians in the community we could ask, or we'll just do our own. Yeah, I want to talk about this further.
I just don't have the empirical evidence to show you right now, but I can show you later. I know Arcane.
Neither do I. I don't have it with me either.
Arcane wasn't all wrong with the things that he was saying, because he's right about some of the things that he's saying. It's just my issue with him is that I don't know how to say this without like insulting or nothing like that. But this lazy English of just saying that we shouldn't trust the government at all. And like me having to question him to get him to clarify what he's talking about. Yes, he did say that things that he can't verify on his own. You understand what I'm saying? But there are things that the government's going to teach it. You won't be able to, not teach it. They're going to say that you won't be able to necessarily verify on your own that is factually true. So we'll have to talk about that in a separate Google Hangout or something like that, because I have to go to work. But Arcane, I hope you're not mad, bro, about me kicking you out. When you're in a Google Hangout, bro, you can't just you gotta let people talk, bro. Can't be muting moderators in a room, because if you do that, you're gone. Especially if I'm a moderator and you mute me, you'll be going faster than you can sneeze. All right, that's all I wanted to say. So Antonio, thank you for the invite, and talk to y'all later.
Hey, G-Man. What else do we want to talk about? Antonio, it's your room. What do you want to talk about? Or did anyone still here? Hello? All right, just me here. I'm going to take over. This is now Talking Stuff Early Tuesday. I'm your host, JD Kane. I'm taking over Antonio's room. It's mine now. I hereby declare. Okay, actually, I'm just going to keep playing Minecraft till people come back. So... Right, so as you know, I'm a horrible person and only came in here so I could, talk crap about Arcane for tonight's Talk Shit Tuesday. At least that's how it's going to be spun. But actually, that was actually kind of fun talking. It's frustrating with Arcane, but while Arcane is terrible at conversation, he does bring up topics that are interesting. And it's nice that for once we didn't talk about the damn flat Earth, because let's face it, that shit gets old really fast. Like, oh, okay, I really don't need the flat Earth anymore. Please stop. The government was wrong with heliocentric theory. I almost said something. I'm like, no, I'm gonna hold off. Hold off. Just let it slide. So, those interested, and no one is, I'm out looking for jungles. There you got the damn boat again. Boat. Great, I'm on ice. Wonderful. I'm trying to find a jungle because I'm trying to find food that come from Pam's Harvest Crest stocky gardens, and I haven't found one yet. Great, I can't even run fast in this damn thing. I'm still early in the game. I'm using bronze, so still pretty early. And all this ice is probably not helping me. Frozen ocean? Yeah, frozen ocean. I'd rather be in a damn boat.
I keep taking away.
Oh, hey, there you are. You sound fine. You sound fine to me.
I keep getting taken away. Dang, where did that echo come from?
I think it's on your end, because I'm not hearing anything. It's raining where I am. So, Antonio, if you're back for a bit, what do you want to talk about? We kind of exhausted the current conversation. I'm still want to talk about healthcare versus taxes and how to pay for it.
Everything is muted on my end.
Yeah. Well, let's say.
But anyway, I gotta end the broadcast because I keep having work to do and I keep getting taken away from my computer. So I don't want to just be gone for like 90% of the broadcast. So I'm just gonna end it.
All right. So for those watching, read your Bible and do what it says.
Probably the first and only time you ever hear him say that. Have a good one, y'all. Peace.